Chapter 94. Boss Fan condescendingly looked down at Tang Jing. The gleaming dagger in his hand seemed to emit the aura of a death god. He gave a low, sinister laugh. "Hi, little brat, you also have a day like this. To go against this daddy, you should have died a long time ago. After taking care of you, this daddy will go take care of Lin Hu and send him to the underworld to accompany you." Boss Fan raised his dagger and fiercely stabbed towards Tang Jing's chest. Suddenly, the door opened. Fang Shishir walked in and cried out in shock. "Who are you? What are you doing?" Boss Fan was shocked and his dagger unconsciously stopped as he turned his head to look at Fang Shishir. Fang Shishir's gaze was immediately attracted to the dagger as a wave of cold air rose from the bottom of her heart. She was extremely afraid, but she did not run away. Instead, she pounced towards Boss Fan in an attempt to snatch the dagger. "You are not allowed to harm Tang Jing." Boss Fan was shocked as this little girl was not afraid of him. He began to laugh. "Hiye, since she delivered herself to his doorstep, he will take her away and have a good time." Fang Shishir did not have the strength to truss a chicken, and in front of Boss Fan, who was a third-grade refining body martial artist, she could not even withstand a single blow. Boss Fan easily grabbed her hand. Fang Shishir did not stop struggling as she instinctively wanted to scream out loud. Boss Fan's eyes and hands were quick as he covered her mouth, causing her to only let out a woo-woo sound. "Hi, little girl, you are quite fierce. In a bit, you will listen to me obediently," Boss Fan said with a pleased smile as he waved his arm and the dagger flew towards Tang Jing's chest. Fang Shishir turned pale with fright as she did not know where she got the strength from, but she bit down on the hand that covered her mouth. "F***CK, this daddy will kill you." Boss Fan felt the pain as he instinctively cried out in fear. The dagger that was originally aimed at Tang Jing turned and pierced towards Fang Shishir's chest. A muffled sound rang out as Boss Fan flew out and fiercely smashed into the wall as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Fang Shishir escaped danger and immediately cried out loudly, "Murder! Save me!" She then stood in front of Tang Jing's bed as if she was protecting the most important thing in her life. Boss Fan cut a sorry figure as he crawled up and looked at Fang Shishir in shock before looking all around him. There was no one else in the room, but Fang Shishir was not a martial artist, so how could she have shaken him away? That wave of energy just now was incomparably strong and his heart was about to be shattered. It could be seen that this was not a normal attack, but there was no one else. Of course, he did not know that this was the effect of Fang Shishir's spirit-controlling Jade Buddha. Luckily, he was a martial artist and was able to block most of the attack. If it was a normal person, they would have followed in Xiao Fei's footsteps and directly fainted. Damn it! He loudly cursed and wanted to rush up, but there was already the sound of hurried footsteps outside. It was clear that Fang Shishir's cry for help had already alerted the others. Boss Fan unwillingly looked at Tang Jing as this little brat's life was really tough to not die like this. He glared at Fang Shishir with killing intent before turning around and running. Fang Shishir's fiercely beating heart finally calmed down. The result of releasing too much adrenaline was that once she relaxed, her entire body seemed to have lost all strength as she fell onto the bed, lying on top of Tang Jing's body. Looking at Tang Jing, who was just inches away from her, her lips finally curled into a smile. "I won't let anyone hurt you." Pang! The door was once again pushed open, causing Fang Shishir to be frightened as she thought that the scoundrel had returned. However, it was clear that she was overthinking, as this time it was not the scoundrel but Yi Dingdong's group. "What happened?" Yi Dingdong rushed up and anxiously asked. Fang Shishir forcefully stood up and said in shock, "Just now there was a scoundrel who wanted to kill Tang Jing." "Scoundrel?" Yi Dingdong's eyebrows immediately wrinkled. "Just now we met a person at the elevator entrance. Could it be a scoundrel?" Feng Xinyang reminded. Yi Dingdong's eyes lit up as she said, "It must be him. That person is Boss Fan, a big brother of Chongheng City's underworld. Tang Jing has a grudge with him. To dare assassinate this handsome little brother, you must be tired of living." Feng Xinyang coldly snorted as her killing intent leaked out. "Let's not talk anymore, let's first see how Tang Jing is. Senior Medicine King, hurry up and take a look." Yi Dingdang hurriedly pulled the Medicine King to the bedside. But the Medicine King was not alone, as he was carrying a child in his arms. Nanan. Nanan's big round eyes stared in all four directions before her gaze finally landed on Tang Zheng's face. She immediately opened her little mouth as she subconsciously wanted to call out "Brother Godly Doctor." However, she suddenly remembered that this was a little secret between her and Tang Zheng and immediately closed her little mouth. The others did not notice the little fellow's reaction as they all focused their attention on the Medicine King. Feng Xinyang and her daughter waited for the Medicine King at Mu Hongyan's home before Yi Dingdang impatiently dragged him to the hospital in the middle of the night. The only difference was that they had an extra burden, Nanan. These past few days, Nanan had been with the Medicine King. Nanan liked this white-bearded grandpa, and the Medicine King also wanted to find out just how Nanan's illness was cured. So, even when the Medicine King went out to find Tang Jing, he always brought Nanan with him. "Brother, what's wrong?" Nanan anxiously asked. The Medicine King put her down and amiably smiled. "Nanan, don't worry, grandfather will cure him." He had long heard of Tang Zheng's injuries, so he directly stretched out his hand to feel Tang Zheng's pulse. 2 fingers pressed against Tang Zheng's pulse, and with a thought, a thread of qi entered Tang Zheng's body through his skin. Suddenly, the Pill King felt a wave of blazing energy forcefully repelling his inner energy, causing him to be shocked. This wave of energy was extremely vigorous. However, he was not frightened by it and instead became curious. He once again felt Tang Zheng's pulse, wanting to find out what was wrong. A muffled sound rang out, and the Medicine King was actually forced back a step. His face became especially serious. Everyone else was shocked. "Senior Medicine King, what's wrong?" The Medicine King waved his hand, indicating that he was fine. He just stared unwaveringly at Tang Zheng, sometimes shaking his head, sometimes nodding his head, causing the others to be confused, but no one made a sound. Even though Fang Shishir did not know who this old man was, since he was a doctor invited by Yi Dingdang, then he was definitely not an ordinary person. She also looked at him with a face full of expectation. After a while, the Medicine King faintly sighed and muttered to himself, "I have never encountered this kind of situation before. It really is strange, very strange." One must know that the Medicine King was a 9th-grade natal martial artist. Even though he could not be considered very strong, after practicing medicine for so many years, he had never encountered a situation where even his qi was rejected. He had inherited the ancient Hua Tuo's medical skills and practiced the 5 animal frolics. This type of qi flowed continuously and did not clash with other people's qi. This made it very beneficial for him to practice medicine and investigate the patient's condition. But this time it was clearly different. His qi was unable to enter Tang Zheng's body as the tyrannical energy within Tang Zheng's body completely rejected him. When the others saw him shake his head and say that it was strange, their hearts tightened as they knew that the situation was not as simple as they thought. They hurriedly asked, "Senior Medicine King, can he be saved?" "Saved?" The Medicine King's eyes widened. "His body's functions are very good, but his unconscious state is very strange. The key is how to wake him up." "Senior, you must wake him up. I beg you." Fang Shishir grabbed the Medicine King's hand and begged. The Medicine King nodded his head and said, "Miss, don't worry, I will do my best." It was unknown when Nanan had grabbed Tang Zheng's hand. Her small hand tightly grasped his large hand, and her face was also anxious. She lifted her head to look at the Medicine King and said in a childish voice, "Grandpa Medicine King, you must save my brother. He is a good person." The Medicine King smiled and said, "How does Nanan know that he is a good person?" "Of course Nanan knows. Anyways, Grandpa Medicine King must cure my brother. Otherwise, Nanan will ignore you." Nanan seriously said. "Nanan really has a heart." Yi Dingdang patted her head. In a short period of time, Yi Dingdang was also conquered by Nanan's cute appearance. "Thank you, little miss," Fang Shishir gratefully said. Nanan sweetly smiled. Her gaze once again landed on Tang Zheng's body. Her face was full of worry. "You guys go back first. I will stay here tonight to look after him and think of a way to cure him," the Medicine King said. "No, I want to accompany him. I want to wait until he wakes up so he can see me first, Fang Shirshir persistently said. The Medicine King looked at her and said, Little miss, your breathing is erratic. You must have stayed up all night. Hurry and go back to sleep, otherwise you will also collapse. If you collapse, then who will take care of him? Moreover, he won't wake up anytime soon, so there is no point in you staying here. But Fang Shirshir still wanted to persist, but Yi Dingdang stopped her and advised, You go back, I will take care of him. Fang Shirshir, hearing this, wanted to persist even more. How could she let Tang Zheng and Yi Dingdang stay together? But before she could refute, she saw the Medicine King wave his hand, telling everyone to go back. The others had no choice, as they did not dare disobey the Medicine King's words. There are people who want to harm him, so be careful. Fang Shirshir reluctantly agreed, not forgetting to remind them. The Medicine King gave a confident smile. Daring to come here to commit murder is the same as walking right into a trap. A 9th-grade natal martial artist could be considered quite skilled, and there were not many people in Changheng City that could pose a threat to him. Feng Xinyang was clearly more experienced than the others and knew that the Medicine King did not want outsiders to disturb him during his treatment. So she directly pulled the others out of the hospital, and Nan Nan was also sent home by her. The room quietened down as the Medicine King stared at Tang Zheng as if he wanted to see through him. After a moment, he took a deep breath and said, His yang qi is so heavy that it is rarely seen in this world. Even though I do not know what martial arts he cultivates, but since your yang qi is so heavy that it repels other external forces, then I will have to use yin qi to achieve a balance between yin and yang. It seems that I can only use the extreme yin god needle today. Just as he finished speaking, 9 silver needles appeared in his hands, each 3 cun and 3 fen long. Under the light of the lamp, they shone with a cold light. His hands were like lightning as one of the needles pierced into Tang Zheng's chest. His needles were extremely fast, unlike a normal Chinese doctor who would slowly insert needles. In the time it took for a breath, the needles had pierced into Tang Zheng's skin. Just from this alone, it could be seen that his medical skills were out of the ordinary. He inserted needles one after another, and after 10 seconds, Tang Zheng's acupuncture points were filled with 9 needles. He finally let out a breath and revealed a satisfied smile. Suddenly, his smile froze. Chapter 95. Big Head Fan looked down at Tang Zheng. The gleaming dagger seemed to emit the aura of death under the light. He sinisterly laughed in a low voice. Hi, little brat, to think that you would have such a day. You should have died a long time ago to go against me. After I take care of you, I will take care of Lin Hu and send him to hell to accompany you. Big Head Fan raised the dagger and ruthlessly stabbed it towards Tang Zheng's chest. Suddenly, the door opened. Fang Shirshir walked in and cried out in alarm, Who are you? What are you doing? Big Head Fan was frightened. The dagger unconsciously stopped, and he turned his head to look at Fang Shirshir. Fang Shirshir's gaze was immediately attracted by the dagger. A cold air rose from the bottom of her heart. She was extremely scared, but she did not run away. Instead, she pounced towards Big Head Fan, attempting to seize the dagger. You are not allowed to harm Tang Zheng. Big Head Fan was shocked. This little girl was unexpectedly not afraid of him. He laughed mischievously. Since she delivered herself to his doorstep, he would take her away and have some fun. Fang Shirshir did not have the strength to truss a chicken. In front of Big Head Fan, a 3rd-grade body refining martial artist, she was unable to withstand a single blow, so Big Head Fan easily grabbed her hand. Fang Shirshir did not stop struggling, instinctively wanting to scream, but Big Head Fan's eyes were quick. He covered her mouth, making her only able to make muffled sounds. Hi, hey, little girl. You are quite fierce. In a while you will obediently listen to me. Big Head Fan proudly laughed. Waving his arm, the dagger went straight for Tang Zheng's chest. Fang Shirshir turned pale with fright. She did not know where she got the strength, but she bit the hand that was covering her mouth. Fuck, I will kill you. Big Head Fan felt pain, instinctively turning pale with fright as he screamed. The dagger that was originally going to stab Tang Zheng turned and stabbed towards Fang Shirshir's chest. With a muffled sound, Big Head Fan flew out, fiercely slamming into the wall, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Fang Shishir escaped danger and immediately shouted, "Murder! Save me!" Then she tightly guarded Tang Zheng's bed, as if she was protecting the most important thing in her life. Fanda too crawled up in a battered and exhausted state. He looked at Fang Shishir in shock, then looked around. There was no fourth person in the room, but Fang Shishir was not a martial artist, so how could she have shaken him off? Just now, that burst of power was incomparably strong, and his heart was about to shatter. It was clear that this was not an ordinary counterattack, but there was no one else. Of course, he did not know that this was the effect of Fang Shishir's Jade Buddha spirit array. Fortunately, he was a martial artist and was able to offset most of the attack. If it was a normal person, they would have followed in Xiao Fei's footsteps and been knocked unconscious. Hell! He cursed and wanted to rush forward again, but there were already sounds of hurried footsteps outside. It was clear that Fang Shishir's cry for help had alarmed the others. Boss Fan unwillingly looked at Tang Jing as this brat's life was really strong. Even like this he did not die. He stared at Fang Shishir with a murderous look before turning around and running away. Fang Shishir's violently beating heart finally calmed down a little. The consequence of releasing too much adrenaline was that once she relaxed, her whole body seemed to have lost all strength as she collapsed onto the bed, lying on top of Tang Zheng's body. Seeing Tang Zheng so close to her, her mouth finally curved into a smile. "I won't let anyone hurt you." Pang! The door was pushed open again. Fang Shishir was shocked, thinking that the robbers had returned, but she was clearly overthinking. This time it was not the robbers, but Yi Dingdang's group. "What's wrong?" Yi Dingdang rushed up and anxiously asked. Fang Shishir stood up with difficulty and said in a frightened voice, "Just now there was a robber who wanted to kill Tang Zheng." "Robber?" Yi Dingdang's eyebrows immediately wrinkled. "Just now we met a person in the elevator. Could it be a robber?" Feng Xinyang reminded. Yi Dingdang's eyes lit up and said, "It must be him. That person is Big Head Fan. He is Ordinary Balance's big brother. Tang Zheng has a grudge with him. Daring to assassinate a little handsome brother. He must be tired of living." Feng Xinyang coldly snorted, releasing a murderous aura. "Stop talking, let's see how Tang Zheng is. Senior King of Medicine, quickly take a look." Yi Dingdang hurriedly pulled the King of Medicine to the bedside. But the King of Medicine was not alone. In his arms was a child, Nana. Nana opened her big round eyes and looked around. In the end, her eyes fell on Tang Zheng's face. She immediately opened her small mouth and subconsciously wanted to call out "Brother Godly Doctor." But she suddenly remembered that this was a little secret between her and Tang Zheng, so she immediately closed her small mouth. The others did not notice the little girl's reaction. They were all focused on the King of Medicine. Feng Xinyang and her daughter waited for the King of Medicine at Mu Hongyan's house. Then Yi Dingdang could not wait to take him to the hospital at night, but there was an extra burden, Nana. These days, Nana had been with the King of Medicine. Nana liked this white-bearded grandpa, and the King of Medicine also wanted to find out how Nana's illness was cured. Therefore, even when the King of Medicine went out to look for Tang Zheng, he always took Nana with him. "What's wrong with brother?" Nana asked anxiously. The King of Medicine put her down and smiled amiably. "Nana, don't worry. Grandpa will cure him." He had already heard about Tang Zheng's injury, so he directly reached out to feel his pulse. 2 fingers covered Tang Zheng's pulse. With a thought, a trace of internal strength went through Tang Zheng's skin and into his body. Suddenly, the King of Medicine felt a hot force bouncing off his internal strength. He was surprised because this force was very powerful. However, he was not frightened. Instead, his curiosity was aroused. He felt his pulse again and was determined to find out what was going on. Bang! With a muffled sound, the King of Medicine was shocked and took a step back. His face became particularly serious. The others were shocked. "Senior King of Medicine, what's wrong?" The King of Medicine waved his hand, indicating that he was fine. He just stared at Tang Zheng, shaking his head and nodding his head. The others were confused, but no one said anything. Although Fang Shishir did not know who this old man was, since he was a doctor invited by Yi Dingdang, he was definitely not an ordinary person. She also looked at him expectantly. After a long while, the king of medicine sighed faintly and muttered to himself, "I have never encountered such a situation. It's really strange, really strange." The king of medicine was a 9th grade acquired realm cultivator. Although he was not very powerful, after practicing medicine for so many years, he had never encountered a situation where even his internal strength was rejected. He inherited the medical skills of ancient Hua Tuo and practiced the 5 animal frolics. This kind of internal strength was continuous and did not conflict with other people's internal strength. This was beneficial for practicing medicine and investigating the patient's condition. But it was obviously different this time. His internal strength could not enter Tang Zhang's body at all. The tyrannical force in his body completely rejected him. When the others saw him shaking his head and saying that it was strange, their hearts tightened. They knew that things were far from as simple as they thought. They quickly asked, "Senior King of Medicine, can he still be saved?" "Save?" The King of Medicine widened his eyes. "His body functions are very good, but his unconscious state is very strange. The key is how to wake him up. Senior, you must wake him up. I beg you." Feng Shirshir grabbed the King of Medicine's hand and begged. The King of Medicine nodded and said, "Young lady, don't worry. I will do my best." Nana did not know when, but she grabbed Tang Zhang's hand. Her small hand tightly held his big hand. Her face was also anxious. She looked up at the King of Medicine and said in a childish voice, "Grandpa King of Medicine, you must save brother. He is a good person." The King of Medicine smiled and said, "How does Nana know that he is a good person?" "Of course Nana knows. Anyway, Grandpa King of Medicine must cure brother. Otherwise, Nana will ignore you." Nana said seriously. "Nana is so caring." Yi Dingdang patted her head. In a short time, Yi Dingdang was also conquered by Nana's cute appearance. "Thank you, young lady," Feng Shirshir said gratefully. Nana smiled sweetly. Her gaze fell on Tang Jing again, her face full of worry. "You all go back first. I will stay here tonight to look after him and think of a way to treat him." The King of Medicine said, "No, I want to stay with him. I want to wait until he wakes up so that I can be the first person he sees." Feng Shirshir insisted. The King of Medicine looked at her and said, "Young lady, your breathing is disordered. You must have stayed up all night. Quickly go back and sleep. Otherwise, you will collapse. If you collapse, who will take care of him? Moreover, he will not wake up for a while. It is useless for you to stay here." But Feng Shirshir still wanted to insist, but Yi Dingdang stopped her and advised, "You go back. I will take care of him." Feng Shirshir heard this and wanted to insist even more. How could she let Tang Zheng and Yi Dingdang stay together? However, before she could refute, the King of Medicine waved his hand and told everyone to go back. They had no choice but to listen to the King of Medicine. "Someone wants to harm him. We must be careful." Feng Shirshir reluctantly agreed, but did not forget to remind them. The King of Medicine smiled confidently. "If he dares to come here and commit murder, he will be walking right into a trap." The cultivation of the 9th level of the natal realm was already considered good. In the ordinary balance, there were not many people who could threaten him. Feng Xinyang was obviously more experienced than the others. She knew that the King of Medicine must not want to be disturbed, so she directly took them out of the hospital. She also sent Nana home. The ward was quiet. The King of Medicine stared at Tang Jing, as if he wanted to see through him. After a while, he took a deep breath and said, "His yang qi is so strong that it is rare in the world. Although I don't know what kind of martial arts he practiced, since your yang qi is so strong and repels other external forces, then I will use the soft yin force to achieve the goal of balancing yin and yang. It seems that I can only use the Taiyin magic needle today." As soon as he finished speaking, 9 silver needles appeared in his hand. They were 3 inches and 3 fen long, shining coldly under the light. He moved like lightning, and a silver needle had already pierced Tang Zheng's chest. He moved the needle very quickly, unlike the ordinary Chinese doctors who slowly inserted the needle. In a breath, the silver needle pierced Tang Zheng's skin. Just from this, one could see how extraordinary his medical skills were. He moved the needles one after another. In dozens of seconds, 9 silver needles were inserted in Tang Zheng's major acupoints. He finally breathed a sigh of relief and showed a satisfied smile. Suddenly, his smile froze. Chapter 96. The king of medicine had practiced medicine for dozens of years, but he had never seen such a frightening situation. The 9 silver needles were actually retreating, as if there was a force pushing the needles out bit by bit. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, a silver light flashed, and the 9 silver needles shot up into the sky, like arrows piercing into the ceiling, buzzing and trembling. The king of medicine stared blankly at the ceiling, as if he was in a dream. The divine lunar needle was a unique skill of his sect, and he would not use it easily. But today, he was really stumped by Tang Zheng's difficult disease, so he used this skill. He never thought that this would be the result. After a long time, he smacked his lips and shifted his gaze to Tang Zheng's body. His eyes gradually lit up, like a hunter who saw his prey, or a gourmet who saw a delicacy. In short, he had an unprecedented interest in Tang Zheng. A doctor, especially a famous doctor like him, liked to treat difficult and complicated diseases the most. If he could cure the disease easily, he would not have much interest in treating it. Only this kind of difficult challenge could make his blood boil. At this moment, his blood was boiling, but some people felt as if they had fallen into an ice cave. After leaving the hospital, the more Boss Fan thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. He could not kill Tang Zheng, but when Tang Zheng woke up, he would not let him go. Although he did not have much contact with Tang Zheng, from his fighting style, he could tell that he was not a merciful person. If he did not take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to kill Tang Zheng, then he would definitely die. He clenched his teeth and went straight to Huang Xiang's residence. In fact, he did not want to see Huang Xiang because he felt that the other's aura was becoming more and more strange, and that kind of cold feeling was like hell. But for his own life, he had to go to hell. He walked into Huang Xiang's villa, and a night wind blew, and a cold feeling hit him in the face, making him shiver. Damn, isn't the weather warmer? Why is it still so cold? He muttered and looked up. The villa was pitch black. Looks like no one's home. I'll come back another day. Suddenly, a strange voice came from the dark room. Boss Fan, since you've come in. Big Head Fan quivered in fright. This voice was erratic, and the key point was that it sounded as if it had been squeezed out of a grave. There was a sinister feeling to it. However, he still managed to recognize that it was Huang Xiang's voice, even though it had changed a little. Young Master Huang, is that you? He asked nervously. It's me. Come in. As soon as he finished speaking, the tightly shut door opened by itself. The pitch-black door was like the bloody mouth of a ferocious beast. His heart trembled. He hesitated for a moment before walking in, saying, Young Master Huang, why didn't you turn on the lights? Is there no electricity in the house? Ehe, why are you looking for me? A gust of wind blew past, and a gust of cold air blew into Big Head Fan's ears. His whole body shivered, and he hurriedly turned his head to look. A gloomy face was right next to him, and he could see it clearly with the help of the moonlight. He screamed in fright and hastily retreated. What's your name? Are you afraid of me? Huang Xiang was like a shadow, and like a ghost, he appeared in front of him. Big Head Fan's heart trembled with fear. He was a gangster, so of course his courage was not small. However, facing the current Huang Xiang, he could not help but feel a chill in his heart. I'm not afraid. Big Head Fan mustered up his courage, not knowing if coming here today was the right decision. Hee, you're not afraid of me. I can see that you're actually very afraid of me. It's good that you're afraid of me. I like it when people are afraid of me. Huang Xiang let out a sharp and strange laugh. Big Head Fan wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said, Young Master Huang, I'm here to tell you a big piece of good news. Tang Zheng was seriously injured in a car accident and is currently lying unconscious in the hospital. Now is the best time to kill him. Tang Zheng. Huang Xiang's voice suddenly changed. It was abnormally cold, and the temperature in the room suddenly dropped. It made Big Head Fan feel as if he was in a world of ice and snow. Yes, it's Tang Zheng. Now that young Master Huang has made his move, he's dead for sure. Big Head Fan mustered up his courage and said while trembling with fear. Hee, the heavens are helping me. Now that I've achieved great success, I'll use his blood to celebrate. Huang Xiang madly laughed. Big Head Fan's heart beat rapidly, and he hurriedly flattered. Congratulations, young Master Huang. Congratulations, young Master Huang. From now on, no one in the ordinary balance will dare to oppose you. Tang Zheng is only the first step. I want to rule the ordinary balance, and the Ye family is my true enemy. However, I'll deal with this brat Tang Zheng first. A cold wind blew past, and Big Head Fan only saw a shadow flash. Huang Xiang had already disappeared from the door. Big Head Fan let out a sigh of relief and said to himself, what kind of evil martial arts did young Master Huang practice? It's so strange. He hurriedly shook his head and stopped thinking about these messy things. Since young Master Huang had made his move, then Tang Zheng would definitely be finished. Big Head Fan's problem was solved, and now he had to think about how to deal with Lin Hu. When Nana returned home, she looked as if she had a lot on her mind and did not say a word. Mu Hongyan was confused. Why was this little girl so unhappy after going out? She hurriedly asked for the reason, but Nana did not answer. Instead, she thought for a while and said, Mom, let's go to the hospital tomorrow, okay? When Mu Hongyan heard this, she was shocked and asked, Nana, are you not feeling well? Let's go to the hospital immediately. Nana shook her head. It's not me. I want to see Big Brother tomorrow. Take me there. Big Brother, is it the patient that Senior King of Medicine went to treat today? Mu Hongyan asked curiously. Nana nodded seriously. Mu Hongyan breathed a sigh of relief and laughed involuntarily. Why? Because Nana likes Big Brother. Like? Mu Hongyan snorted and laughed. Nana pouted and protested. Don't laugh. I'm telling the truth. Okay, I won't laugh. But isn't the patient unconscious? You didn't even talk to him. How can you like him? Because... Nana wanted to say that it was because he was Big Brother Godly Doctor, but when she thought of the agreement between the two, she did not say it. She said coquettishly, anyway, I like him. Come with me tomorrow. Okay, I'll go with you. We've been away from home for a while now. I'll take you to Ordinary Balance to play for a few days. Then we'll go home. I don't want to go home. Hee, we've been away for so long. Grandpa will miss you. Nana lowered her head. But we must wait until Big Brother recovers before we leave. Mu Hongyan touched her daughter's head and smiled. Okay, we'll do as you say. We'll go see your brother tomorrow. But she was really curious about this strange brother. Nana was weak and sickly since she was a child. She was shy with strangers. Except for the mysterious Big Brother Godly Doctor, she did not show much attachment and affection to others. King of Medicine did not dare to rashly use the Taiyin magic needle again after he failed. But he did not stop. He pinched and touched Tang Zheng here and there. In short, he almost touched Tang Zheng's body. If he knew, he might shudder. But a doctor had the heart of a parent. King of Medicine obviously did not have any bad intentions. A cold wind blew. King of Medicine suddenly stopped. He raised his head and stared at the door. There was another person there. He was covered in a large black coat and his face could not be seen clearly. The Medicine King furrowed his brows and went straight to the point. You came for him? The man in black was of course Huang Xiang. He was here to kill Tang Zheng. Looking at the old man, he was not afraid. Instead, he grinned hideously. Yes, so you'd better back off. You want me to back off? That depends on whether you have the ability to do so. You're pretending to be a ghost. You're evil and don't show your true face. King of Medicine said in disgust. You want to see my true face? That depends on whether you have the ability to do so. Before we start, can I ask why you want to kill him? Do you have a grudge against him? King of Medicine was so curious about Tang Zheng that he could not help asking. Leaving him in the world is a hidden danger. Of course, I have to get rid of the hidden danger. I have a lot of hatred against him. Huang Xiang had always thought that Tang Zheng and he practiced the same set of skills. Since this set of skills was so powerful, he certainly could not leave Tang Zheng alive. King of Medicine wanted to ask more, but Huang Xiang waved his hand impatiently and said, Old man, you have too many questions. Ask this boy when you're on the road to the netherworld. Huang Xiang moved quickly. He was as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of King of Medicine. King of Medicine was not slow either. With a tap of his heel, he rushed out with a whoosh. He was like a ferocious tiger descending the mountain. His aura was like a rainbow. 5 animal frolics was the practice method of imitating 5 animals. These 5 animals were the bear, crane, tiger, deer, and ape. King of Medicine used the tiger steps. The so-called dragon steps and tiger steps showed how powerful his momentum was. He stretched out his hands like the 2 sharp claws of a fierce tiger and directly grabbed Huang Xiang's chest. Huang Xiang laughed strangely and waved his hand. His 5 fingers turned into claws. 2 tearing sounds were heard. King of Medicine's shoulder was torn and bright red blood flowed out. Huang Xiang's chest was also broken. 5 bloody marks were dripping with blood, but his blood was black and red, which was very strange. You really are evil. King of Medicine stared at the black and red blood and his face became serious. What kind of skills are you practicing? Quack, of course it's a good skill to kill people. What, are you afraid? Evil. Everyone has the right to kill you. Today I will kill you here. King of Medicine spread his arms like a white crane spreading its wings. With a flap of his arms, a strong wind rose and the door of the ward was closed with a bang. Huang Xiang moved his feet and rushed up like a ghost. His cold breath filled the whole ward in an instant. 2 figures moved and flashed. In an instant, the room was full of shadows. Both of them were so fast that it was almost impossible to see them clearly. However, King of Medicine did not dare to be too far away from Tang Zheng. He was afraid that Tang Zheng would lure him away and kill Tang Zheng. Chapter 1897. Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. Please wait for a moment. He clawed at Tang Zheng's chest. The King of Medicine looked desperate. It was over, but he didn't stop. Even if Tang Zheng was dead, he couldn't let the murderer go. Hiss hiss, a smell like burning meat filled the air. A ray of red light, like a flame, slowly rose from Tang Zheng's body. Huang Xiang seemed to have met his nemesis or grabbed a red-hot soldering iron. His palms were smoking. He screamed and stepped back. Bang! With a muffled sound, he bumped into the King of Medicine's hand. He staggered and fell to the ground. He rolled and jumped up again, looking at Tang Zheng in horror. The red light had disappeared as if it had never appeared. But both of them knew that it was definitely not their illusion. They looked at each other as if to confirm what had just happened. The King of Medicine's heartstrings trembled. He had never heard of such a strange thing. Moreover, the flame-like red light seemed to be specially used to restrain Huang Xiang. Especially the smell of burning was still in the air. Huang Xiang picked up his hand and looked at it. It was charred black, and his skin was curled up. He was puzzled. His eyes gradually emitted a fierce light. He said, "Why can't I kill you?" He roared at the top of his lungs, full of anger and unwillingness. The King of Medicine breathed a sigh of relief. Although he did not understand what had happened, at least Tang Zheng's life was saved. He stood in front of the bed and did not let the other party get close to him. Dong dong dong. Hurried footsteps sounded outside the door. The police had arrived. The hospital had found out about the fight and had already called the police. The people inside, listen up. You have been surrounded. Put down your weapons and surrender. The police shouted. Huang Xiang was unmoved. He was not afraid of the police at all. He only gritted his teeth and looked at Tang Zheng. He said hatefully, "I will be back." After that, he jumped out of the window like a gust of wind. The King of Medicine did not look. This height could not stop the other party. "Come in. The criminal has already escaped," the King of Medicine said loudly. The police rushed in vigilantly. The black muzzle of the gun was pointed at the King of Medicine. The King of Medicine said lightly, "I am the patient's family. The criminal has escaped." He pointed to the window. Several police rushed to the window. There was not even a shadow. But this was a 9-story building. If they jumped down, they would definitely be smashed to pieces. The police could not believe that the criminal had escaped from here. What the hell is going on? Deng Maokai swaggered in and asked sternly. This hospital was under his jurisdiction. When he received the call, he immediately rushed over. Nothing. Someone came in to cause trouble and was driven away. You can leave now, the king of medicine said. He did not want to deal with these people. He still had to concentrate on studying Tang Zheng's condition. Since the police had come, how could they leave so easily? Moreover, the doctor and nurse had seen a very fierce fight inside. Deng Maokai walked directly to the bedside and glanced at the bed casually. He was so scared that his pupils shrank and he almost stepped back. Why is it him again? He was really afraid of Tang Zheng. He had something on him, and he had crossed paths with him several times. It seemed that he could not avoid him even if he wanted to. He asked with fear, "What's wrong with him?" "He's sick." "Oh, is it serious?" Deng Maokai asked nervously. "He'll be fine in a few days." Deng Maokai shrank his neck. Since he would be fine in a few days, it was better not to provoke this devil, lest he be implicated again. Moreover, the other party obviously did not want the police to intervene. He pushed the boat with the current and was happy to leave this place as soon as possible. The ward was quiet again. The king of medicine quietly looked at Tang Zheng, pondering a new treatment plan. Although Tang Zheng himself could not move, his mind was very active. Since he was knocked unconscious, he had entered a wonderful world. It was as if he was standing at the mouth of a volcano. Endless flames burned in front of him, and the hot air waves almost ignited him. "Tianshanzi, come out." "What's wrong with me? Why am I here?" Tang Zheng shouted. "Boy, don't shout. It's strange. You're imprisoned in the sea of consciousness. What's going on? Why is there a sea of fire in your sea of consciousness? Why didn't I notice it before?" Tianshanzi's voice sounded. He seemed to be very surprised by Tang Zheng's current situation. Sea of consciousness, sea of fire? Boy, in addition to the Dantian, the most important thing is the sea of consciousness. The sea of consciousness is in the brain, controlling people's thinking. The spiritual power I told you before is gathered in the sea of consciousness. Then why am I in the sea of consciousness? What's the matter with this sea of fire? How would I know? Tianshanzi said angrily, "Boy, you're different from ordinary people. You're very strange. Hey, look at the sea of fire." Tang Zheng raised his eyes and looked over, only to see flames jumping up and down in the sea of fire. In the end, they turned into words. Burning body, kindling of fire. The 8 fiery words were particularly dazzling, firmly attracting Tang Zheng's attention. Kindling of fire? Tang Zheng was shocked. This was his pain. During this time, he had not found a way to ignite the kindling of fire, which made him a little depressed. Is it related to the kindling of fire? Tianshanzi muttered to himself, as if he was thinking. After a moment, he said, "Kindling of fire, how can the sea of consciousness be related to the kindling of fire?" According to Tianshanzi's knowledge, the sea of consciousness was only related to spiritual power and had nothing to do with the kindling of fire, but these 8 words clearly pointed out that the sea of consciousness was related to the kindling of fire. Strange boy, you really can't be judged by common sense. You haven't been able to ignite the kindling of fire, so why don't you follow these instructions? How? Burning body, of course you have to jump into this sea of fire. Jump in? Tang Zheng opened his eyes wide. Although he was only a strand of divine sense, facing this sea of fire, he still had an indescribable instinctive fear. What are you afraid of? You can only try. Moreover, your divine sense is imprisoned here. If you don't follow the instructions, what else can you do? Tianshanzi said helplessly. Tang Zheng had previously tried to leave the sea of consciousness, but found that his divine sense was simply unable to jump out. This sea of consciousness seemed to have a kind of attractive force, firmly attracting him, making him not even aware of what was happening outside. He only remembered that in order to save Feng Shishir, he was hit by a car and came to this place. Okay, I'll go all out. Tang Zheng walked towards the sea of fire step by step. The moment his foot stepped in, the flames rushed to his body with a whoosh. It was as if there was an accelerant on his body. In the blink of an eye, he was completely enveloped by the flames. He became a living person. An indescribable pain stimulated him, making him unable to help but scream. "Boy, hold on. I think this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. If you can get through it, maybe the problem of igniting the kindling of fire will be easily solved." Tian Chanzi encouraged him thoughtfully. "Fuck, this feeling is too unbearable. Burning body, do you really want to burn me to ashes?" Tang Zheng cried out in pain. "What are you shouting for? Quietly feel the changes and try to ignite the kindling of fire." Tian Chanzi said resolutely. This sea of fire made him think of a legend from tens of thousands of years ago. Legend has it that at that time, there was a race, each and every one of them had exquisite spells and magical powers. Moreover, this race's cultivation was completely different from that of ordinary people. Because of this, they were condemned by the public as heretics. This kind of heresy was of course ostracized and finally eliminated. This race completely ceased to exist. But the words left behind said that this race's kindling of fire was not in the Dantian, but in the sea of consciousness. Moreover, its power was enormous. Even if it was a person of the same cultivation level, it would far surpass other races. Tian Chanzi looked at the sea of fire in the sea of consciousness and thought hard. Finally, he remembered this legend. But he was not happy. Instead, a strong fear occupied his mind. Chapter 98. This kind of fear followed him like a shadow, making Tian Chanzi feel uneasy. Could it be that he is related to that race? That would be a huge disaster. Although it had been tens of thousands of years and many people didn't know about it, the powerful cultivators who had lived for countless years definitely wouldn't forget. They still had an instinctive rejection of this race. If they knew that a member of that race had appeared, they wouldn't sit idly by and would directly kill Tang Zheng. Although Tian Chanzi couldn't figure out how Tang Zheng could be a member of that race. "No, I can't let others know about this." Looking at Tang Zheng in the fire, Tian Chanzi made up his mind. He didn't have a strong feeling about the battle from tens of thousands of years ago, not to mention that he and Tang Zheng had a close relationship, so he had to protect him. Tang Zheng had already operated the ancient Clear Heaven Scroll, guiding his true qi to attack his Dantian in an attempt to ignite the kindling. But when the true qi moved, it didn't flow to his Dantian, but instead gathered in his knowledge sea. Like gasoline meeting fire, the true qi burned. His body was ignited from the inside out, and the more intense pain made him almost collapse. But he had suffered a lot since he was young, so he gritted his teeth and held on. "Tian Chanzi, why didn't the true qi go to the Dantian, but to the knowledge sea instead? How can I ignite the kindling?" Tang Zheng asked loudly. Tian Chanzi's voice was trembling. Tang Zheng's words undoubtedly confirmed his guess. He stabilized his mind and said, "Then lead the true qi into the knowledge sea. Don't worry about the Dantian, try to ignite the kindling in the knowledge sea." Tang Zheng was shocked. "Igniting the kindling in the knowledge sea, is this possible? Why didn't you tell me before? How would I know that things would turn out like this? Hurry up, don't dawdle." Tian Chanzi unhappily urged. He didn't want to say more, because his mind was already in chaos. Tang Zheng gradually stabilized his mind and guided his true qi bit by bit to gather in his sea of consciousness. In an instant, the flames became even fiercer and engulfed him. After an unknown amount of time, the flame became smaller and smaller. It turned from red to light purple, and finally became the size of a fingernail. It burned in the air and emitted a strange power. There were already a lot of people gathered in Tang Zheng's ward. Feng Xinyang rushed over as soon as she woke up. Originally, Yi Tianlei wanted to come as well, but was dragged away by Yi Xuanji to look for the godly doctor's whereabouts. However, she noticed that someone was earlier than her. Feng Shishir was already sitting by the bed. Feng Shishir seemed to have steeled her heart to accompany Tang Zheng. If he did not wake up, then she would not go to class. This caused Shi Mengqin to almost explode, so she also followed along. The Feng family's investigation of the car accident did not yield any results, causing Xi Mengqin to be greatly disappointed. She originally hoped that the car accident was a self-directed and self-acted bitter play by Tang Jing, but her plan failed. However, today, she did not have the time to speak nonsense. Because from the moment she saw Feng Xinyang, she was like a mouse seeing a cat, not daring to be rash. Feng Xinyang did not even look at her. She only sighed inwardly. It would not be easy for her little girl to take down the little handsome guy. This Feng Shishir was chasing too closely. When she went back, she must teach her little girl a few tricks. However, this was not her main concern. She wanted to know how Tang Zheng could wake up. Just as she was about to ask the king of medicine, she saw Mu Hongyan walk in with Nana. Nana was like a fluttering little butterfly, flying towards Tang Zheng and continuously shouting, "Brother, Nana came to see you." Mu Hongyan's eyes flashed with a strange light. Her daughter's performance was far beyond her expectations. She could not help but carefully look at Tang Zheng, but she did not find any clues. "Senior King of Medicine, when will he wake up?" Feng Shishir anxiously asked. Everyone's gaze turned towards the King of Medicine, including Xi Mengqin. However, in her heart she disagreed. Where did these people find this Jianghu doctor? They were probably here to cheat money. At her level, she had never heard of the King of Medicine's name. Her level was not high enough, and she was ignorant and fearless. The King of Medicine's face was filled with exhaustion. Last night, he had tossed and turned for the better half of the night, but he was still unable to find a feasible treatment method. The main reason was that his internal energy was unable to detect Tang Zheng's internal injuries. Just by looking at his appearance, he could not say for sure. "I still need to carefully study it. His illness is too strange," the King of Medicine solemnly said. Feng Shishir's heart thumped. Her expression was filled with concern as she anxiously said, "Senior, you must cure him. I beg of you." "I will do my best. Brother is very powerful. He will definitely be fine." Nana patted Feng Shishir's hand, acting like a little adult as she comforted her. "In any case, I believe that he will get better soon. Moreover, he promised me." Before she finished speaking, Tang Zheng's voice rang out. "Why are there so many people?" In an instant, the room quieted down. Everyone's gaze turned towards him, all sorts of complex emotions intertwined. Tang Zheng scratched his head. What was going on? Just now, after the lavender flame formed in his knowledge sea, the shackles on his knowledge sea disappeared. He stared blankly at the lavender flame. Only then did he understand from Tian Chanzi's exclamation that he had finally ignited his fire seed. That flame was a first-grade true fire. It turned out that he had been looking in the wrong direction. His fire seed was not in his dantian. So even if he had spent a lot of effort, it was useless. But this time, after being hit by a car, he muddle-headedly entered this knowledge sea. He had unexpectedly ignited his fire seed by accident. So fortune and misfortune came hand in hand. If he did not want to save Feng Shishir, he would not have entered this knowledge sea. Then he did not know when he would be able to discover the mystery of his fire seed. Tang Zheng was somewhat glad. He was truly happy from the bottom of his heart. After igniting his fire seed, he could use the 9 revolving pill furnace to refine pills. But what made him feel strange was that Tian Chanzi did not seem to be too enthusiastic about igniting his fire seed. Instead, he was somewhat absent-minded. But he did not care. Since the shackles on his knowledge sea had disappeared, he naturally woke up. What entered his eyes was the large room full of people. He subconsciously asked, but this caused everyone to raise their eyebrows. Feng Shishir threw herself onto his body, crying tears of joy, "You're finally awake." "That's great, you're finally awake." Tang Zheng lightly patted her back and said, "Don't cry, I'm fine. Is your body okay?" He still remembered the situation at that time and was deeply afraid that she would also be injured. "I'm fine. You saved me, so I won't argue with you anymore. I won't be angry with you anymore," Feng Shishir said while choking with sobs. Xi Mengqin saw this scene and was so angry that smoke was coming out of her 7 orifices. Finally, she could not help but angrily shout, "Tang Zheng, let go of my daughter. What kind of scandal is this?" Feng Shishir did not let go of Tang Zheng. Instead, she hugged him even tighter and quietly whispered in his ear, "Ignore her." Seeing that the two people did not react and that Tang Jing was hugging her daughter even tighter, Xi Mingqin's face became extremely gloomy. She directly rushed over to pull her daughter away. But she saw a figure flash and Feng Xinyang was already blocking her in front of the bed. She looked at her with a smile that was not a smile and said, "Do you want to make a move? The one who will suffer will definitely be you." Xi Mingqin subconsciously retreated 2 steps. Her expression was uncertain as she said, "I'm educating my daughter. What does that have to do with you? You educating your daughter is not related to me. But if you want to deal with that handsome little brother Tang Jing, then I will have to interfere." You. Xi Mingqin was speechless. With swords drawn and bows bent, Tang Jing patted Fang Shishi's back, indicating for her to get up. Only then did Fang Shishi reluctantly get up. This time, she hugged Tang Jing in front of so many people. She was a bit embarrassed, but sometimes it was hard to control herself and there was nothing she could do. "Mom, don't make a fuss," she advised, but these words were no different from adding fuel to the fire. As expected, Xi Mingqin pointed at her own nose and asked, "I'm making a fuss? How am I making a fuss?" Sure, since he's awake, then hurry back to school and go to class." "I'm not going. I want to accompany him." Fang Shishi held onto her hand, abnormally firm. "Big brother wants to accompany me." A childish voice sounded out. Nana took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention to climb onto the bed. She threw herself onto Tang Jing's body and sweetly smiled, "Big brother, you're finally awake." Nana already knew that Big Brother would definitely be fine. Big Brother is the most powerful person in the world. Nana's interruption caused the tense atmosphere to weaken by quite a bit. Many people subconsciously looked towards Nana and Tang Jing, only to see Tang Jing looking at Nana in shock. He subconsciously asked, "Nana, why are you here?" When his voice fell, Tang Jing realized that something was wrong. He actually called out her name in front of so many people. He should have pretended not to know her. As expected, several people looked at him at the same time. Mu Hongyan's entire body trembled as she finally recognized the voice. She pointed at him and said, You are." Tang Jing hurriedly coughed and gave Mu Hongyan a look. Mu Hongyan's heart understood and she swallowed the words that were about to come out of her mouth. However, everyone could clearly see the shock on her face. Mu Hongyan was simply too excited. Tang Jing's voice was too familiar. This was the senior godly doctor that she had always been looking for. Moreover, he also called out Nana's name. Mu Hongyan was almost instantly sure of his identity. This also explained why Nana liked him so much. Mu Hongyan was truly surprised and happy. She did not know what to do and could only take a few steps forward. She gratefully and respectfully said, "It's really great to see you." Tang Jing nodded his head and smiled but did not say anything. However, the others were baffled by Mu Hongyan's reaction. Xi Mingqin was especially dumbstruck as if she had seen a ghost. After all, she still had some eyesight. From Mu Hongyan's temperament, she could tell that the other party was not simple. However, she was actually so respectful to Tang Jing and even had a cautious feeling. This was simply inconceivable. She subconsciously pondered, why is this little brat so strange? How does he know so many powerful people? Feng Xinyang thoughtfully looked at the two people but did not interrupt. However, the king of medicine had already impatiently rushed forward. He extended his hand to grab Tang Jing's wrist to investigate. Tang Jing's nerves suddenly trembled. He flipped his wrist and instinctively pointed his finger. Like a sharp sword, it pierced forward. Chapter 99. The king of medicine let out a surprised cry as he quickly retracted his hand and said, "Don't misunderstand, I don't want to hurt you. I am a doctor and I just want to see what is wrong with your body." Tang Jing did not relax. As a doctor with a 9th stage natal stage cultivation, this was no longer an ordinary doctor. "Thank you, I am already well and do not need to be examined." Tang Jing had 9 main meridians and this old man could easily find out. Moreover, his true energy and inner strength were completely different, so he could not casually let the other party examine him. The medicine unwillingly said, Young man, you were unconscious for a few days. This is very strange and we have to figure it out. Otherwise, what will we do if there is any future trouble? Tang Jing firmly shook his head. I am clear about my own body, so there is no need, thank you. The king of medicine was unwilling as he looked towards Feng Xinyang, hoping that she would persuade him as he was too interested in Tang Jing. Feng Xinyang smiled as she knew that Tang Jing was not normal. Since he did not want others to examine him, then she could not force him and said, Senior King of Medicine, since the little handsome brother is already well, then there is no need to examine him. This time it is all thanks to you. The King of Medicine regretfully shook his head and said, I did not do much as he woke up on his own. But it really is strange, his body is too strange. Sure, help me get out of the hospital. Is identical to, continue, I want to leave the hospital. Tang Jing did not want to be surrounded by so many people, so he said, You just woke up, how can you be in such a hurry to leave the hospital? I am already fine, look. Tang Jing directly got off the bed. See, he sucked in a breath of cold air as he felt a piercing pain in his ribs. Who told you to be brave? You broke 2 ribs, do you know that? Feng Shishi's eyes were red as she held onto his arm like a wife taking care of her husband. Shi Mengqin wanted to flip out, but in the end she controlled herself. Tang Jing felt that his ribs were indeed broken, but it was not a big problem. It was not convenient for him to be in the hospital. Besides, his grandfather was still at home, so it was better to go home and recuperate. Therefore, he continued to insist on being discharged from the hospital. Feng Shishi could not persuade him, so she could only go through the discharge procedures. Thank you all for coming to see me. I appreciate your kindness. I will thank you one by one another day. Tang Jing nodded to the others. Little handsome, you don't have to be so polite with me. Since you're awake, then I'm relieved. Our family's Ding Dang is also very worried about you. She came yesterday and today, she also said that she wanted to come, but I drove her to school. Feng Xinyang said with a smile. At this time, he still had to show his concern for his daughter. Tang Jing felt warmth in his heart. In the past, when he was in trouble, only his grandfather cared about him. Now that so many people cared about him, he really felt good and warm. Mu Hongyan stared at him blankly. She finally mustered up her courage and said, Can I talk to you in private? Tang Jing agreed. Since the other party had already recognized him, there was no way to hide this matter. The others could only leave the ward. The King of Medicine looked back 3 times as he walked, his eyes shining as he looked at Tang Jing. He was very reluctant to part with him. Tang Jing really did not understand who this old man was. In short, for this kind of expert, he was a little wary. Senior Godly Doctor, I didn't expect to see you here, Mu Hongyan's expression became excited and a little incoherent. Tang Jing waved his hand, indicating for her to calm down. He calmly said, Perhaps this is God's will. Since you have seen my true face, then in the future don't call me senior. My name is Tang Jing, you can call me by my name. How can that be? If you call me senior, what will others think, so it's better to call me by my name. Moreover, I hope you won't tell anyone about this. Tang Jing still wanted to keep a low profile. Mu Hongyan nodded to express her understanding. Nana, who had been holding Tang Jing's hand, shook it and said, Big brother, I have never told our secret to anyone, including my mother. I know, Nana is the most obedient. Tang Jing smiled bitterly. If Mu Hongyan did not personally come, perhaps this secret would continue to be kept. Mu Hongyan saw that the relationship between the two was so harmonious and relaxed a little. She smiled and said, This little girl even keeps it a secret from me. She is closer to you than to me. Mother is talking nonsense, I am equally close to the two of you. Nana hurriedly corrected. Tang Jing. Mu Hongyan subconsciously wanted to call him senior again, but in the end she changed her words and said, The King of Medicine does not have any ill intentions, he is a highly respected doctor who has treated Nana before. This time he heard that she had recovered, so he rushed over. Yesterday, it was Feng Xinyang who personally invited him to treat you. Tang Jing suddenly understood and glanced at the King of Medicine through the glass on the door. He found that even through the glass, the king of medicine's gaze was still burning. So he is a medical maniac, but I hope you can keep the fact that I cured Nana a secret. Tang Jing warned. Of course I will keep it a secret, but the king of medicine has always wanted to find you. He has an old friend who is suffering from a chronic illness and wants to ask you to treat him. Other than relying on the life-prolonging pill, Tang Jing was not as good at treating common illnesses as a normal doctor, let alone this seemingly powerful king of medicine. He quickly shook his head and refused. No, my medical skills are not high, so I can't help you, so please keep my identity a secret. Tang Jing, I have a presumptuous request. The king of medicine is a kind and benevolent person. He has saved many people and has also helped Nana a lot in the past. I can't bear to lie to him, so can you please make an exception? I promise that this matter will not be known to many people, only the king of medicine. After all, it is a matter of life and death. Tang Jing hesitated. Tang Jing, I know this request is too much, but I have experienced this kind of thing before. I know very well how desperate the patient and the other person's family feel. They really hope for a miracle and a glimmer of hope. Tang Jing glanced at Nana. She was playing with Tang Jing's fingers. When she saw him looking at her, she revealed a bright smile. It was extremely cute. He couldn't help but think of his grandfather. He gradually understood Mu Hongyan's feelings. Moreover, his grandfather had always taught him to be a good person. His heart softened and he said, "Okay, but this matter can't be spread, only the few of us know. As for his old friend, we will arrange another time to treat him." Tang Jing did not intend to force himself. If he could help, he would naturally help. If he couldn't, then it was the will of the heavens. Mu Hongyan hurriedly nodded and thanked him repeatedly. Tang Jing sat in the Fong family's car and returned home. Fong Shishir supported him into the small house. Shi Mingqin disdainfully stood far away. This was her first time coming to this kind of place. She wanted nothing more than to run away, but she couldn't. Otherwise, there would only be one man and one woman left. God knows what would happen. I really don't have any major problems. It doesn't hurt much anymore. Tang Jing sat down. Seeing Fong Shishir's pained expression, he hurriedly said, "Your bones are all broken. How can it be so easy? Be good and lie down on the bed." Fong Shishir did not have any resistance to this simple and crude house. She gently helped him onto the bed and even personally took off his shoes. Tang Jing was helpless. He could only lie on the bed and watch her busy figure. His heart felt warm. "Shishir, come over and sit for a while." He waved his hand. Fong Shishir obediently sat by his side. "Are you still angry at me?" Fong Shishir hurriedly shook her head. "No, I won't be angry at you anymore. I know you treat me well. We won't listen to other people's gossip." "Good, that's good." Tang Jing held her hand, completely satisfied. "Oh." Fong Shishir kissed him and said, "This time you really scared me to death. You should rest well. I'll go back to school first, otherwise my mom will start screaming again." "Okay, I'll rest well." Tang Jing hugged her waist and kissed her lips. She also responded fiercely, and only after a long while did she part with the desire to continue. "You're injured yet you're still not obedient. Rest well. Once you're better, you can do whatever you want. I'll listen to you." Fong Shishir finished speaking. Her face turned red all the way to her neck. Tang Jing's heart beat faster as he asked, "Really? Guess for yourself." Fong Shishir charmingly smiled. She turned around and ran out of the door, leaving only her beautiful back. "AI, it seems that I need to quickly heal and get better," Tang Jing excitedly thought. "Little brat, you're finally enlightened." Tian Chanzi once again appeared. "Quickly take down this little girl. The problem of your pure yang energy eruption can be temporarily solved. Eavesdropping is a bad habit. That won't do. I'm already a 4th grade refining chi cultivator. I need to practice the sealing technique. When the time comes, I'll seal you so you can't see what you shouldn't see," Tang Jing said. Tian Chanzi indignantly shouted, "Little brat, do you think I'm a hoodlum? I'm a high-level cultivator. Do you think I don't understand the principle of not looking at indecent things? High-level cultivator? Humph, I think you're no different from a hoodlum. Tang Zheng retorted, quickly teach me the sealing technique and also how to use true fire to refine pills. Little brat, don't be in a hurry to cultivate. I have something important to tell you. Tian Chanzi's voice became deep and serious. What is it? Little brat, your body is strange. You know that the average person's true fire is in their dantian, but yours is in their sea of consciousness. Do you know why there is such a huge difference? You and I are not the same kind of people. Nonsense, I'm a young man. You're a 1,000-year-old monster. Nonsense, I'm saying that you and I are not of the same race. Tun Chanzi said, flustered and exasperated. Not of the same race? Don't tell me you're not a human, but a monster? Don't pester me endlessly. Humans are also divided into many races. Just like how there are many races now. A long time ago, many races coexisted in an environment, but they fought with each other. In the end, only one race remained, which is the current human race. You mean I'm not a human? I don't know the specifics. After all, tens of thousands of years have passed. In short, the secret of your body must not be known to outsiders. Otherwise, you will be killed. Just like the king of medicine from before, although his skill is not very profound, after all, his medical skills are superb. If you let him examine your body, it will be easy for him to find some clues. Of course, for things that happened thousands of years ago, he certainly doesn't know, but this is also a risk that must be avoided. Do you understand? Tian Chanzi warned. Tang Zheng was dumbfounded. It was a bit difficult for him to accept this information. How did he become non-human? Chapter 100. After a long time, Tang Zheng finally digested this information, but he gradually understood that his strange body had so many secrets, and these secrets were fatal. But your race's cultivation is very abnormal, just like you, advancing by leaps and bounds. You're simply not human. Oh, you're not human. Tian Chanzi sighed. Fuck, you're not human. Tang Zheng angrily said. Calm down. In fact, this is not a bad thing. After all, your cultivation speed is fast. As long as you have strength, even if your identity is exposed, others will not be able to do anything to you. Tian Chanzi comforted. It's not you, of course you're not worried, but what should I do now? Speed up your cultivation, become stronger before others find out your secret, the stronger the better. You and I are of the same mind, so you don't have to worry about me leaking your secret. This time you broke through to the 4th grade refining qi, I also obtained a lot of benefits. My soul has become a lot stronger, and in time I will be able to find a suitable host and be reborn. Tang Zheng's mood gradually calmed down. There was no use in worrying about this matter, so he decided to cultivate, regardless of his injuries. First was the sealing technique. Tian Chanzi reluctantly passed it on to him. He tried it several times, and it was very useful. As long as he silently recited the incantation and activated his true qi, Tian Chanzi could only shut up and be sealed. This made Tian Chanzi so angry that he cried out, scolding him for being ungrateful. How could he use him as an experiment? Tang Zheng shrugged his shoulders and ignored him. In any case, there was no one else to test the sealing technique on, so he could only use Tian Chanzi to test it. In the end, Tian Chanzi could only silently protest. The next step was to use his true fire to refine pills. He took out the 9 revolving pill furnace from under the bed. The furnace was pitch black and covered with a layer of dust. For the 9 revolving pill furnace to be thrown under the bed by you, it is truly a waste. Tian Chanzi bitterly said. Tang Zheng shrugged and said, this room is only so big. Where else can I put it if I don't put it under the bed? Don't talk nonsense. How should I use this thing? Circulate your power and inject your true qi into it. Tang Zheng circulated the ancient clear heaven scroll, and a stream of true qi flowed out from his palm into the 9 revolving pill furnace. A melodious sound echoed as the 9 revolving alchemy furnace soared into the air. Its pitch-black exterior emitted a layer of black light as it slowly rotated. This pill furnace has been covered in dust for a long time. You must first awaken its spirituality before you can refine pills. Tang Zheng suddenly realized that this true qi was the method used to awaken the spiritual nature of the pill furnace. The 9 revolving pill furnace spun faster and faster until it finally turned into a black light, and a little bit of blue light seeped out from the black light. It was like a piece of black cloth wrapped around a light bulb. The light from the light bulb passed through the black cloth and grew more and more. In the end, the black light disappeared and a green light filled the entire room. The melodious buzzing sound was like the sound of ancient temple bells, making people feel relaxed and happy. "Stop!" Tang Zheng lightly waved his hand, and the 9 revolving alchemy furnace stopped rotating and steadily stopped on the ground. The blue light gradually converged as its exterior underwent a tremendous change. The originally swarthy exterior had turned into a blue color and emitted a faint ancient aura. Moreover, one could clearly see that there were many birds and beasts engraved on the exterior of the pill furnace. Most of them were creatures that Tang Zheng had never heard of before, so he simply did not know what they were. This is the true appearance of the 9 revolving alchemy furnace. Tian Chanzi proudly said. Tang Zheng was dumbstruck. After awakening the spiritual nature of the pill furnace, it unexpectedly underwent a heaven and earth change. If it was like this during the auction, then he definitely would not have been able to obtain it. Fortunately, the treasure furnace was covered in dust, so I was able to pick it up. He rejoiced. "You should be thanking me. If it wasn't for me, then you wouldn't have this kind of dog shit luck." Tian Chanzi unceremoniously boasted. "But I also have bad news to tell you." "What?" "This 9 revolving alchemy furnace has been damaged and its quality has dropped by a lot. It unexpectedly became a yellow-level treasure." Tian Chanzi regretfully said. Tang Zheng turned pale with fright and said, "What, didn't you say it was an earth-level treasure?" Treasures were divided into 4 ranks: heaven, earth, profound, and yellow. In other words, the 9 revolving alchemy furnace actually dropped from second place to last place. Tian Chanzi awkwardly coughed and explained, "Wasn't it covered in dust? That's why I misjudged it." Tang Zheng was speechless. "Little brat, don't be so unhappy. A yellow-level treasure is more suitable for you. Do you think an earth-level treasure is so easy to control? You need to have the appropriate cultivation and enough qi. You don't have enough right now, so using a yellow-level treasure to consolidate your foundation is the right way to go." Tang Zheng coldly snorted. In any case, he did not understand these things, so he could only let him say whatever he wanted. However, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. This was still a treasure after all. He fondly touched the 9 revolving alchemy furnace and felt extremely good. He finally had a treasure, his first treasure. Although this 9 revolving alchemy furnace has become a yellow-level treasure, it used to be an earth-level treasure. So in the future, you can find a way to repair it and turn it back into an earth-level treasure. That's possible? Of course, treasures can be upgraded. Don't you know this? Tian Chanzi proudly said. "You didn't say so, how would I know?" Tang Zheng retorted. Tian Chanzi acted as if he did not hear and continued. "When refining pills, you will draw the fire into the furnace. The refining method is the same as when you refine the life-continuing pill. Then I will first refine the spirit pill." Tang Zheng impatiently said. "First get the materials." "Right, what materials do you need?" Tian Chanzi pulled out a long list of materials. Fortunately, they were all materials that could be bought in pharmacies. Tang Zheng let out a sigh of relief. Refining pills requires a guiding herb, which is the most important ingredient. The spirit pill does not require something as precious as the heaven-fragrant flower. It only needs a 300-year-old ginseng. 300-year-old? Tang Zheng was dumbstruck. Even if he did not understand the market, he knew that 300-year-old ginseng was not easy to find. It was a treasure that could only be found by chance. Tian Chanzi actually said that it was not precious and was sloppy. It's only 300-year-old. You should know that there were many thousand-year-old ginseng. What is this, country bumpkin, making a fuss about nothing? Tian Chanzi said disapprovingly. That was in ancient times. You also know that the spiritual energy is thin now. Where would you find this 300-year-old ginseng? Tang Zheng was very depressed. Heaven never bars one's way. Let's find it. Moreover, don't you still have 900,000 left? Use this money to buy it. By Myas. 300-year-old ginseng. You want to buy it with 900,000? Dream on. Tian Chanzi laughed and said, then that is not my problem. In any case, I have already told you the recipe. Tang Zheng was worried about the ginseng. On the other hand, the king of medicine was shocked by the news he heard. He never would have thought that this strange youth was actually that mysterious godly doctor. Suddenly, he became even more interested in Tang Zheng. He wanted to slice him up and study him carefully. It was really too shocking. Senior king of medicine, at that time I promised Tang Zheng that this matter would not be spread, so please do not tell too many people. When the time comes, just arrange for your old friend to treat him. Mu Hongyan said, I will definitely keep it a secret. Since his medical skills are so high, then I will find a chance to compare notes with him. The king of medicine said excitedly. He then impatiently contacted Yi Xuanji and told him that he had found the godly doctor. He would bring him to visit the godly doctor tomorrow. Yi Xuanji was very excited. There was finally a glimmer of hope. After Yi Tianlei heard the news, he was also very happy. The next day, he drove Yi Xuanji and the king of medicine to their destination. Yi Xuanji looked out the window. Although his expression was very calm, there was still a strange expression on his face. The king of medicine understood his feelings. He patted him on the shoulder and said, Old brother, I think your hope is on this person. This person is too mysterious. Even I don't know the details. Who is this person? How come I have never heard of him? Yi Xuanji asked curiously. A rising star. It is true that the new generation excels the old. Anyway, this time I have learned something new. I can't miss a single detail later. Who knows, maybe my medical skills will also improve by leaps and bounds. The king of medicine was not stingy with his praise and said expectantly. Yi Xuanji had never seen the king of medicine praise someone so much. His confidence increased a lot. Why is this place getting more and more desolate? Does the godly doctor really live here? Yi Xuanji looked at the row upon row of low buildings. There was no bustling city center at all. The king of medicine took a look and felt a little strange. However, this was the address he got from Fang Shishir, so it shouldn't be wrong. Maybe he likes to live in seclusion. The king of medicine casually explained. However, when their car stopped in front of the low bungalow, the three of them had a weird expression. The surroundings were really too dilapidated. How did it look like a place where a godly doctor lived? It looked more like a place where a garbage collector lived. They didn't guess wrong. Tang Zheng's family originally made a living by collecting garbage. The three of them looked at each other and were a little confused. However, since they were already here, they had to make things clear. Tianlei walked straight to the door and saw an old man walk out. Sir, may I ask? Yi Tianlei's words stopped abruptly. It was as if someone had stuck his throat. He stared straight at the old man in front of him. Are you Tang Zheng's grandfather? Yi Tianlei asked in disbelief. He had seen Tang Dehai before. At that time, Tang Dehai was lifeless and his vitality was almost exhausted. Moreover, he was very old. However, although the person in front of him looked very similar to Tang Dehai, his vitality was very different. Even the wrinkles on his face were not as many. Yi Tianlei even suspected that this person was Tang Dehai's younger brother. Tang Dehai looked at the three of them suspiciously and asked, I am. Who are you looking for? Yi Tianlei was even more incredulous when he heard the confirmation. When Tang Zheng said that his grandfather had recovered, he didn't believe it. However, when he saw the real person, he knew that he had really recovered. This kind of vitality was definitely not that of a patient. One must know that Tang Dehai was a person who was judged by the doctor to not have many days left to live. However, the truth was in front of him and he had to believe it. Before Yi Tianlei could answer, the king of medicine rushed to Tang Dehai as if he had seen a delicious cake. Chapter 101. The king of medicine held onto Tang Dehai's wrist. His expression became strange as he muttered to himself, Magical, Too magical, a withered tree rejuvenated, full of life. This medical skill is too magical. This old man is ashamed of his inferiority. Sogu, 360, So search, free download of novels. The few people were shocked by the king of medicine, but when they heard him muttering to himself, they were deeply shocked. Especially Yi Xuanji. He had known the king of medicine for most of his life, but he had never seen him say words of inferiority to anyone. The king of medicine had always been the one standing at the top. Others could not even look up to him, but he actually took the initiative to admit his inferiority. This was too inconceivable. But Yi Xuanji suddenly had a greater hope. This showed that the godly doctor was brilliant. Maybe he really could be saved. Tang Dehai looked at him blankly and asked, "Excuse me, what's the matter?" The king of medicine looked at Tang Dehai excitedly and said, "Did you have a serious illness in the past and your life was almost cut off, but in the end, you were cured by someone with magical medical skills?" Tang Dehai was shocked and said, "I was sick before, but the doctor in the hospital cured me, and now I feel like I have endless energy." "Which doctor?" "This I don't know, you'll have to ask my grandson." "Little Zheng, quickly come out." Tang Dehai shouted. Tang Zheng had long heard the commotion outside, especially the king of medicine. He knew that he must have brought a patient here, and thought that since he had to treat his but as soon as possible, he walked out. But when he saw Yi Xuanji and Tianlei, his gaze turned cold. What were they doing here? Suddenly, his heart moved, remembering that Yi Tianlei wanted him to treat Yi Xuanji's illness. Could it be that the king of medicine's old friend was Yi Tianlei? He instantly figured out the details, and his face naturally became ugly. He nodded towards Yi Tianlei and asked, "Uncle Yi, why are you here?" Yi Tianlei smiled and said, "Senior king of medicine found a godly doctor, so I brought my father here to seek treatment." Yi Xuanji coldly looked at Tang Zheng. "Why is this brat here again?" Because Tang Zheng messed up the marriage he arranged for Yi Dingdang, he did not have a good impression of Tang Zheng. "Oh, there's no genius doctor here. You've come to the wrong place," Tang Zheng lightly said. However, the king of medicine was one step ahead of him. He walked up to Tang Zheng and laughed. "If I still had doubts yesterday, I really have no doubts at all after seeing this old man today. Xuanji, my old friend, your illness will be in the hands of this miracle-working doctor." Yi Xuanji followed the king of medicine's finger and saw that it was pointing at Tang Zheng. Even though Yi Xuanji had been through countless hardships, he almost tripped at this moment. "Are you kidding me? How could the genius doctor be this brat?" Tianlei was stunned for a moment, and then he suddenly realized. He believed in Tang Zheng's skills. It was really like searching high and low for something, only to find it by chance. In the end, it still fell on Tang Zheng's head. "Huh, Tang Zheng, so the genius doctor senior king of medicine was talking about is you. I was wondering when another genius doctor appeared in ordinary balance. So it was you, brat. I've seen your medical skills before, so you can definitely do it." Yi Tianlei laughed. The king of medicine curiously turned his head and looked at Yi Tianlei. He asked, "You've seen his medical skills before?" "Of course, he helped me open up my meridians. That's why I was able to break through the bottleneck of innate stage," Yi Tianlei explained. The king of medicine's eyes lit up. He praised, "So there's such a thing. Since you know his medical skills, why didn't you ask him to treat your father earlier? This time, if it wasn't for a freak combination of factors, we really wouldn't have been able to find this genius doctor." "This..." Yi Tianlei's expression stiffened. He glanced at his father. Wasn't it because Yi Xuanji rejected Tang Zheng? Otherwise, why would he go through so much trouble? Yi Xuanji's face was filled with embarrassment. He hadn't had this expression for many years. As a person of high status, he had always been resolute and decisive. Others had to look at his face when they did things. When had he ever been so embarrassed? He really wanted to find a hole to hide in. However, Yi Xuanji wasn't an ordinary person. He coughed and softened his tone. "There's a bit of a misunderstanding." The king of medicine glanced at the few people and understood that there must be some inside story. He quickly laughed and acted as a peacemaker, saying, "Since it's a misunderstanding, let's just let it go. Now that we've found the genius Dr. Tang Zheng, all the problems will be solved." Tang Jing sneered and unexpectedly said, "Misunderstanding? Why don't I think it's a misunderstanding?" Tang Zheng's cold attitude made the few people's expressions change. Especially Yi Xuanji. Being bullied by a junior like this made the veins on his forehead bulge. Of course, Tang Zheng saw his reaction, but didn't take it seriously. He said to the King of Medicine and Yi, "Senior King of Medicine, Uncle Yi, if you don't mind, please come in and have a seat." The King of Medicine had already heard some clues. It seemed that this misunderstanding wasn't small, and Tang Jing deliberately didn't invite Yi Xuanji to embarrass him. In this world, the only people who dared to embarrass Yi Xuanji, other than those old guys, had never dared to challenge Yi Xuanji's dignity. This Tang Jing was really getting more and more interesting. Yi Xuanji's face was gloomy. He was about to flip out. This was a blatant disregard and a slap in the face. Yi Tunlei looked at his father awkwardly. Tang Zheng acted as if he didn't see it and turned around to go back into the house. At this moment, Tang Dehai seemed to have lost his soul. When did his grandson become a godly doctor? How come he didn't know? Moreover, these people seemed to have an extraordinary status and they were so respectful towards Tang Zheng. He also felt a sense of pride. Seeing the awkward atmosphere, he immediately realized that there was a problem. Even though Tang Dehai picked up trash for a living, he still had the survival wisdom of a lower-class citizen. He wasn't an idiot, so he quickly invited them in. "Come in and sit. The house is a bit narrow, so don't mind." Would there be anyone who would dare to mind? Seeing Tang Zheng's attitude, if anyone dared to say even half a word of disdain, they would definitely be mercilessly kicked out. After all, these three people were much more cultured than Shi Mengqin. Even though this simple environment was incompatible with them, they still entered the house. Yi Xuanji also took advantage of the situation and followed in. "Little Zheng, quickly pour water for the guests." Tang Dehai ordered. Tang Zheng wouldn't go against his grandfather's wishes and poured water for the three people. "I'm really sorry, we don't have tea at home, so we can only drink water," Tang Dehai said apologetically. As a simple and honest old man, if there were guests in the house, he would naturally want to use the best things to greet them. If he didn't treat them well, he would feel especially embarrassed. This was the most simple way of thinking for a normal person. No need to go through so much trouble. Yanlei drank a mouthful and awkwardly laughed. He had no idea how today's situation would develop. Yi Xuanji was like a wooden person. He didn't even touch the cup with his finger. His two eyes stared straight ahead without any expression. The King of Medicine laughed and took the initiative to break the silence, saying, "Yesterday I didn't have a good chat with this little friend. Today we must chat to our heart's content." Tang Jing said without batting an eyelid, "Senior King of Medicine, you are the titan of the medical world and I am just an insignificant high school student. I don't think we have anything in common." That's not necessarily true. My thoughts are not pedantic and I am also very interested in learning about you young people. Moreover, we are both people who study medicine. In terms of professional knowledge, there are many things that we can discuss. The King of Medicine said disapprovingly, "I'm afraid I have to disappoint you. In terms of medical knowledge, I only know a little. Compared to the average medical student, I'm much worse. I'm sorry to disappoint you," Tang Zheng said honestly. He studied alchemy and not the various diseases of medical school. The King of Medicine obviously didn't believe him and thought that the other was being modest. He said, "Little friend is too modest. Just based on the fact that you cured your grandfather, Tianlei and Nana, you are already worthy of the title of godly doctor." Tang Dehai had been in a daze the entire time. When he heard that his illness was actually cured by Tang Jing, he looked at him in confusion. It was just an accident. Tang Jing didn't take the credit. The King of Medicine slowly shook his head and sighed. It's rare to have such ability at such a young age and not be arrogant and complacent. It's too rare. If I had such a successor, even if I died, I would have no regrets. Although the King of Medicine's medical skills were superb, he didn't have a successor. These years, he had been running around looking for a successor, but he couldn't find a suitable candidate. Yi Tianlei's eyelids twitched as he looked eagerly at Tang Jing. It seemed that he wanted Tang Jing to agree to be the disciple of the King of Medicine. This was an opportunity that many people who studied medicine dreamed of. But Tang Jing turned a blind eye and didn't seem to be moved at all. The king of medicine squeezed out a lonely smile and said, "But I can see the legendary life-continuing pill before I die. This already makes me have no regrets." Tang Jing didn't change his expression. Since the other party came looking for him, he obviously knew about the life-continuing pill. So he said, "Since you know about the life-continuing pill, then just say it. This is all because of the life-continuing pill, it has nothing to do with me." Hearing that the other party directly admitted the existence of the life-continuing pill, the king of medicine couldn't suppress his excitement and asked nervously, "Do you still have it? Can I take a look?" This was like a child seeing his favorite toy and wanted to look at it. Tang Zheng hesitated for a moment, then took out a porcelain bottle from his pocket and handed it to the king of medicine. The king of medicine's body suddenly sat up straight. He stretched out his hands and carefully took the porcelain bottle. His face was serious and solemn, just like a religious disciple holding a holy object. The others couldn't help but be attracted by the porcelain bottle. They stared at it without blinking, especially Yi Xuanji. Even his breathing became a little chaotic. They didn't know what the life-continuing pill was, but if it could make the king of medicine so serious, then it must be something extraordinary. Tang Jing didn't look sideways. His eyes looked straight ahead as if the porcelain bottle was nothing in his eyes. Comparing the two, Tang Jing's aura was clearly much higher than the others. Tian Chanzi said with disdain, "It's just a life-continuing pill. Why are they making it so grand? They really are a group of country bumpkins who haven't seen the world." Chapter 102. The king of medicine slowly placed the bottle in his palm and slightly tilted it. A perfectly round pill rolled into his palm. It was sparkling and translucent, emitting a faint fragrance like a pearl. The king of medicine's eyes stared straight at the life-continuing pill. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and excitedly said, "This is the life-continuing pill." Everyone else also focused their attention, especially Yi Xuanji. He had already determined the effects of this pill from the 3 words life-continuing pill. His hands subconsciously grabbed onto the chair as his veins bulged, revealing his true feelings. Yi Tianlei praised, "This life-continuing pill is really beautiful. What does it do?" Since it's called the life-continuing pill, of course it's used to extend life. The king of medicine said as he looked at Tang Jing, as if he wanted to ask for confirmation. Tang Jing nodded and said, "This life-continuing pill can extend one's life by 10 years. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, especially the king of medicine Yi Xuanji and Yi Tianlei. The 3 of them were all too clear on what this meant. Other people said that the king of medicine had the ability to revive the dead and regrow flesh and bones, but that was just an exaggeration. But this life-continuing pill was truly miraculous. It could extend one's life by 10 years. Just how precious was this pill? It simply couldn't be measured with money. There were so many rich and powerful people in the world. If they could extend their lives by 10 years, they would be willing to go bankrupt. Who wouldn't want to live? Everyone's hearts began to beat wildly. Yi Xuanji's fingers almost sunk into the wood of the chair. He desired the life-continuing pill the most because he didn't have much time left. If he wanted to live, he would even steal it. But in front of his life, what was stealing? The king of medicine's breathing also became hurried. Seeing this legendary pill, he even had the urge to swallow it. He took a deep breath and put the life-continuing pill back into the porcelain bottle. Everyone's eyes were attracted to the porcelain bottle. For a long time, they were unwilling to move away until Tang Jing casually put the porcelain bottle back into his pocket. What was a priceless treasure in the eyes of others was like a small toy to him, and he was not as cautious as the others. This comparison made the others feel that Tang Jing was even more unfathomable. Even Yi Tianlei, who was very familiar with Tang Jing, couldn't help but change his impression of Tang Jing. "May I ask, how is this life-continuing pill made?" The king of medicine took a deep breath and asked. He felt that this question was very presumptuous. How could he tell others how to make such a priceless treasure? Of course, Tang Jing knew the method, but how could he say it? He wouldn't even tell anyone that he was the one who refined it. He understood the principle of treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. So, he directly shook his head and said, "I don't know." The king of medicine couldn't hide the disappointment on his face and said, "Then who gave it to you?" "Someone else." "Is it your master?" Yi Tianlei asked. He still had a deep impression of Tang Zheng's mysterious master. Tang Zheng laughed inwardly and nodded seriously, "Yes." "Godly doctor, your master must be a godly doctor, an expert." The king of medicine exclaimed. Heaven Monk chuckled and said, "This brat still knows how to talk. He knows that my abilities are great." In his eyes, the medicine king who was over 70 years old was just a brat. Narcissist. Tang Zheng choked him. "I want to pay a visit to your master, may I?" The king of medicine was really like a religious pilgrim, respectful and reverent. How could Tang Zheng make a groundless master out of nowhere? He directly shook his head. "No, my master travels the world, I don't even know where to find him." The king of medicine's face dimmed. He shook his head and sighed, "What a pity, such an expert. If I could get a few pointers from him, my medical skills would definitely improve by leaps and bounds." "Then how many life-continuing pills do you have?" Yi Xuanji finally couldn't help but ask. Right now, he only had eyes for the life-continuing pill. This was a treasure that could save his life. Tang Zheng gave him a playful look and said, "There's only one." "Only one?" Yi Xuanji couldn't hide his disappointment. If there were a few more pills, it would increase his lifespan by a few decades. Then the Ye family would definitely suppress the other families and become the #1 family. At any time, Yi Xuanji would always consider the interests of his family. The king of medicine looked at Yi Xuanji and hesitantly asked, "Little friend, there is a problem with grandfather Ye's cultivation, so he needs the life-continuing pill to pass this stage. I wonder if you can give the pill to him." "Of course, there is a price. You sold it to Nana for 200,000. I believe the Ye family won't sell it for less than that." Yi Xuanji was shocked. A single life-continuing pill was only sold for 200,000 gold coins. This price was a bit too low. But at this time, he didn't think too much about it. The most important thing was to obtain the life-continuing pill, so he waved his hand and boldly said, 2 million, sell the life-continuing pill to me." Actually, he could give a higher price, but the other pill was only sold for 200,000. If the price was too high, he was worried that Tang Zheng would raise the price and have the opposite effect. Tang Zheng gave a low laugh and said, "What a big deal, 2 million. Yi Xuanji was full of confidence. 2 million, many people wouldn't be able to earn that much in their lifetime. For a high school student, the temptation was self-evident. Moreover, Tang Zheng's family wasn't well off, so the temptation was even greater. Yi Xuanji was full of confidence, especially when he heard that Tang Zheng had already sold a pill. This showed that he was obsessed with money. Everyone looked at Tang Zheng attentively. On the contrary, Tang Dehai wasn't too nervous. It was as if 2 million was no different from his $200. "Give me the life-continuing pill and I'll call someone to give you the money," Yi Xuanji said. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth raised and he suddenly laughed. Everyone looked at him with a complicated expression, waiting for his answer. "Not selling." The laughter suddenly stopped as Tang Zheng firmly said, "Not selling?" Everyone was shocked. Yi Xuanji's heartstrings trembled as he hurriedly asked, "How can you not sell? The item is mine. If I say I'm not selling, then I'm not selling," Tang Zheng said without any trace of politeness. Yi Xuanji's face immediately turned purple as he gasped for breath. The matter that he was originally confident in was ruined. Yi Xuanji clenched his teeth and said, "How much do you want? I'll give it to you." For the sake of his life, he didn't take the initiative to offer a price. He wanted to see what kind of price Tang Zheng would offer. "Throwing money, is it? I like money, but why should I sell it to you? This thing has a price but no supply. However much you offer, others will also give you. Then what do you want?" Yi Xuanji suppressed his anger and asked. He was already sure that Tang Zheng was deliberately making things difficult for him. "Nothing. I don't want to sell it to you. It's that simple." Tang Zheng didn't care about the other party's identity. Yi Xuanji had always been high and mighty. Moreover, he actually went to the school gate to block him. Tang Jing still hadn't vented his anger. Tang Jing wasn't someone who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. He even listened to his grandfather's teachings and was a very magnanimous person. However, for someone like Yi Xuanji who had been in a high position for a long time, to look down on an ordinary person like him made him very unhappy. If you make me unhappy, then I can also make you unhappy. It's that simple. This rejection was so direct that it made the others a little confused. Why would he reject such a large sum of money? The king of medicine looked at him in astonishment. He didn't understand why he was willing to sell to Nana but not to Yi Xuanji. Yi Tianlei looked at Tang Jing with a complicated expression. He guessed the reason and couldn't help but secretly sigh. He advised, Tang Jing, the old man really needs the life-continuing pill. If you have any requests, we will do our best to satisfy you. Tang Jing still shook his head and said, Uncle Yi, if you need the life-continuing pill, I can give it to you for free. However, if he wants it, I won't sell it to him no matter how much it costs. Yi Tianlei was speechless. Yi Xuanji's face was extremely gloomy as he asked, Why? Tang Jing glanced at him and bluntly said, How you treated me before, you know it yourself. Moreover, why would I save someone who doesn't even care about his own granddaughter's happiness? I'm doing this for the benefit of the family. What do you know? Tang Jing laughed. For the benefit of the family, you can sacrifice your family's happiness. Very good, so this is the so-called family. I've really learned something. Then what's the point of staying in this kind of family? If it was me, I would leave this kind of family as far as possible. Yi Xuanji's eyes were already red. He was angry and was about to flip out. Tang Jing didn't seem to notice. He even looked at him and said, What, you want to steal it? Of course I'm not your opponent. If you want to steal it, I can't do anything. However, this just proves the hypocrisy and evil of people like you. Tang Jing's eloquence was pretty good. He made Yi Xuanji speechless. It was because Tang Jing held the moral high ground that Yi Xuanji couldn't refute. Ignorant brat, arrogant. I am arrogant. I'm not even a member of your family. What can you do about me? Tang Jing was really arrogant. Yi Tianlei broke out in a cold sweat. He never dared to speak to his father like this. If you don't want to steal it, then forgive me for not seeing you off. Tang Jing directly asked him to leave. Yi Xuanji looked at Tang Jing coldly. His murderous intent was exposed. He really felt like he was going to kill and steal it. However, Tang Jing still had a smile on his face and didn't move. Let's go. Suddenly, Yi Xuanji turned around and left. Yi Tianlei let out a long sigh. He nodded at Tang Jing and chased after him. The king of medicine looked at Tang Jing with a complicated expression. He didn't know what to say. After thinking for a while, he said, If you are interested in learning from each other, I'm happy to. Moreover, your body is special. If you have any questions, you can come to me. The next time you see your master, I hope you can introduce him to me. Since Tang Jing wasn't a real genius doctor, there was no need for the king of medicine to continue the conversation. Moreover, they couldn't talk in this kind of atmosphere. However, he still couldn't forget his mysterious master. Seeing the three people leave, Tang Jing didn't regret it. However, when he saw his grandfather's complicated expression, he knew that he had too many questions. Moreover, he didn't know what his grandfather would think of his actions just now. So far, the person Tang Jing cared about the most was his grandfather. He cared about his attitude the most. Tang Dehai smiled kindly and patted Tang Jing's shoulder. He had something to say. Chapter 103. Little Zheng, no matter what you do, Grandpa will support you. Moreover, Grandpa is very happy that you don't bend over backwards for money. Grandpa doesn't have much ability, but I still rely on my own hard work to earn money. I won't rely on charity to take so much money. Tang Dehai earnestly said. Even though he wasn't very educated, his simple heart was much more valuable than many nobles. Grandpa, I understand. Our family doesn't lack money, but the key is that I don't like this person. Many of his methods make me feel disgusted. Tang Jing explained. Tang Dehai nodded his head and said, Little Zheng, you have your own standards. This is a good thing. Grandpa won't say anything about this matter, but a person must have a benevolent heart. If it is within our power to help, then we should still do it. I understand. I know that a lot of things have happened to you recently. If it is convenient, can you tell Grandpa? Let Grandpa know what's going on. Grandpa can't give you too much advice, but I hope that we can share some of your difficulties. Tang Jing felt his head warm. After thinking for a bit, he told himself a part of the story. He did not mention his entanglements with the underworld. He only said that he had a fortuitous encounter, learned martial arts, and was able to refine pills. So the life-continuing pill was refined by you. Tang Dehai's face brimmed with pride. Yes, refining this pill isn't complicated. The key is that the ingredients are too hard to find. Did you give me one? Tang Dehai wasn't stupid. Connecting this to his own changes, he came to this conclusion. Tang Jing did not deny it. So it was like that. I was wondering why my body suddenly became better. Grandpa, sorry I hid this from you. Tang Dehai rubbed his head and said with a smile, Silly child, who doesn't have a secret? Moreover, your secret is so important. If others knew, then it would bring danger. You should be careful. Actually, Grandpa should thank you for letting me live for another 10 years. I can watch you go to university and start a family. Saying this, his face was filled with gratification and happiness. Tang Dehai didn't have too many goals. This was his life's goal. Tang Zheng's happiness was his happiness. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. He was determined to find a way to let his grandfather continue to live and accompany him for the next 10 years. Since Tang Zheng was a cultivator, his lifespan was naturally much longer than an ordinary person's. He couldn't bear to see his grandfather leave him after 10 years. Yi Xuanji returned to the Yi clan in a flustered and exasperated manner. Yi Tianlei carefully followed behind, afraid that he would trigger his anger. Bang! Yi Xuanji slammed his palm on Wang Wali's desk. Visible cracks spread out from the center of his palm. With a crash, the desk broke into pieces and fell to the ground. Feng Xinyang just happened to come in and see this scene, and was shocked. This anger was too great. She looked at her husband. Yi Tianlei shook his head with a bitter face, which made Feng Xinyang very puzzled. Didn't they go out to find the godly doctor? How did it become like this? Arrogant brat, I'm going to kill him. Yi Xuanji angrily roared. A whirlwind rose from the bottom of his feet, and the sawdust on the ground flew up, forming a strong killing intent. In an instant, the whole room was filled with an oppressive aura, causing people to tremble in fear. Father, calm down. Tang Jing must have been confused for a moment. Wait for him to think it through. Yi Tianlei quickly advised. Confused for a moment? Humph, he is purposely targeting me. When have I ever been played by a brat like him? I must let him know how powerful I am. The dignity of the Ye family cannot be challenged. Yi Xuanji murderously said. Yi Tianlei swallowed his saliva and continued to persuade. Father, I will go and persuade him. I believe he will agree after he calms down. Didn't you hear what he said? He can use the life-continuing pill to save you all, but he won't save me. This was what made Yi Xuanji angry the most. This was clearly a slap to his face. As the head of the Ye family, he was too much of a failure. Just what is going on? Why is it related to Tang Jing again? Feng Xinyang was confused. Yi Tianlei was at a loss of what to do, so he quickly whispered to his wife what had happened. Feng Xinyang was dumbstruck, but her heart was bursting with joy. She secretly said, I knew that this little handsome brother was not ordinary. To think that he was so handsome, so domineering. This old lady's eyes are really good. I cannot give up on this son-in-law. I must win him over. Yi Tianlei looked at his wife's expression and guessed what she was thinking. He bitterly smiled and said, Don't think about these messy things for now. How to get through this crisis is the most important thing. The old man urgently needs the life-continuing pill. We must think of a way to make Tang Jing relent. Hee, I don't have that ability. Isn't the old man the head of the family? Let him make his own decisions. Feng Xinyang gloated. She really didn't have a good impression of her father-in-law. Looking at his wife who wished for the world to be in chaos, Yi Tianlei felt a headache and said, Feng Xinyang, Quickly think of a way, don't add fuel to the fire. Don't you know the old man's temper? If he really does make a move, then Tang Zheng will be in danger. Feng Xinyang thought that this was indeed the case. Yi Xuanji was determined to get the life-continuing pill. If he makes a move, then it will be a killing move. Although Tang Zheng has a mysterious master, he is not by his side, so how can he block Yi Xuanji's attack? I can't handle this matter, so let Ding Dang do it. Is there any use for her to do it? Hang, you're looking down on our daughter, she's more useful than you. Feng Xinyang's mouth hooked up into a faint smile, and immediately went to another room to call Yi Dingdang's cell phone. It just so happened that class had ended, so the mother and daughter began to whisper to each other, only to hear Yi Dingdang scream out, "How is this possible? Hi hey, you didn't think that this little handsome brother would be that godly doctor, and he even has the life-continuing pill, this kind of heaven-defying treasure, this old mother's eyes aren't wrong. His guts are too big, daring to treat the old man like that." Yi Dingdang said in disbelief. This is called domineering, do you understand? Men need to be domineering, only then can they have a manly spirit, unlike those Xiaobai whose face doesn't even have the strength to truss up a chicken, where even the wind can blow them away. Feng Xinyang sincerely praised, this kind of domineering little handsome brother is really too rare. If I was 20 years younger, I would have chased after him. Hey, Feng Xinyang, aren't you ashamed, saying these kinds of words? Yi Dingdang was really speechless towards this mother of hers. Hi hey, it's just a hypothetical, what are you so nervous about? Relax, he is your man, so how could I steal my daughter's man? Feng Xinyang, can you not speak nonsense? Okay, let's talk about serious matters, your chance has come, do you understand? Feng Xinyang's face was full of smiles, as she said in all seriousness. Yi Dingdang was a little confused, what chance? Didn't you want to completely break off the marriage with Songyu? I don't have a marriage with him, that was arranged by the old man himself, I won't acknowledge it. Yi Dingdang firmly said. But you have to get past the old man, only by making him relent, this is the fastest and best way to solve this problem. Yi Dingdang was silent, she had to admit that Feng Xinyang's words were true, although she could use Tang Zheng to cause trouble, the old man was determined to facilitate this marriage, then Yi Dingdang would be in a very passive position. What to do specifically, you tell me. Hi, be good, listen to this old mother, it will definitely succeed. Don't keep me in suspense. Feng Xinyang immediately gave her instructions and Yi Dingdang continuously nodded her head. In the end, she was overjoyed. This will definitely work. You must do it as soon as possible, go to Tang Zheng's house after school, understand? I'll send you the address later. Be smart, this is your chance. Don't be like a silly girl. You see that Feng Shishir is so proactive, her family is so against it, but she is determined to throw herself at the little handsome guy, and this old mother is your strong backing. If you still can't take down Tang Zheng, then this old mother's face will be completely lost by you. Okay, stop being so fussy, you really are going through menopause. Yi Dingdang impatiently said. How is this old mother going through menopause? This old mother is still very young, and as beautiful as a flower. Damn girl, you're just jealous of my charm, tell me clearly. Before she finished speaking, Yi Dingdang had already hung up the phone. Tang Zheng did not pay much attention to what Yi Xuanji would do, no matter what the other party did, he would not sit still and wait for death, he was no longer that bookworm who only knew how to read books. At this moment, he was moving forward step by step, Lin whose little brother Dong Zi was leading the way. After being taught a lesson by Tang Zheng, he became very obedient, but this time he hurriedly ran to Tang Zheng for help, even his clothes were stained with blood. It was said that Lin Hu and Big Head Fan were fighting in a small forest on the outskirts of the city. Big Head Fan took the initiative to challenge Lin Hu to a fight. Over 100 underlings from both sides fought fiercely. Boss Fan's power was originally slightly stronger than Lin Hu's, but the key point was that he was a third-grade refining body, a level higher than Lin Hu's cultivation level. So the battle situation was not optimistic. In the end, Lin Hu could only let his clever little brother Dong Zi run to Tang Zheng for help. Tang Zheng and Lin Hu's friendship was not bad, but with Boss Fan he had old enmity and new hatred. Today he would settle it all together. He already knew that Boss Fan went to the hospital to assassinate him, and also almost hurt Fang Shishir. This grudge was completely formed. Last time he let him go, but he did not expect that he would not change his evil nature. This time he would definitely not let him go. Dongzi, hurry up, your boss will be in more danger if we are late. Tang Jing urged. Dongzi's head was full of sweat. He could only grit his teeth and follow Tang Zhang's footsteps. In the distance, bursts of fighting sounds could be heard. This was a small forest in the suburbs. It was deserted. It was indeed suitable for fighting. Even the police would not care. In the distance, Tang Zhang saw that the two groups of people were still fighting, but it was obvious that one side was at a disadvantage, retreating little by little. Hurry up and follow, I will go first. Tang Zheng tiptoed, like a rabbit jumping like a falcon landing. In an instant he was several meters away, causing Dong Zi to be speechless. Tang Zheng was as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye he arrived at the battlefield. Both sides were fighting with all their might. They did not even notice him. He frowned. The fighting on the streets was far crueler than he imagined. Chapter 104. The ground was splattered with blood. Severed arms were scattered on the ground, mixed with mud and weeds. The wounded were screaming on the side. This was the first time Tang Jing had seen such a bloody scene, but he did not feel uncomfortable at all. Instead, his blood began to flow faster, and he felt a restless feeling. Sogu 360, so. His adrenaline was rapidly secreting, and his mind was highly focused. He swept his gaze around and locked onto his targets, Lin Hu and Boss Fan. At this moment, both of them were holding machetes in their hands, and the blades were stained with blood. Both of them had wounds on their bodies, but Lin Hu's injuries were clearly more serious. He was limping, and although he was doing his best to resist, he was already showing signs of decline. Boss Fan came down from above, and his machete fiercely chopped down. Lin Hu took advantage of the situation to lower his body and wanted to dodge, but Boss Fan laughed sinisterly. The momentum of his machete suddenly changed, and in a flash he chopped towards Lin Hu's back. Lin Hu wanted to block with his machete, but it was already too late. Blood splattered everywhere, and Boss Fan's machete cut open a large wound on Lin Hu's back, causing his muscles to bulge. Lin Hu groaned in pain, but he did not sit still and wait for death. He took advantage of the situation to jump and narrowly avoided the opponent's attack. Looking at this dangerous scene, the little brother beside him couldn't help at all. He could only let out a roar of unwillingness. Not greater than Tang Jing moved. His feet flashed and he rushed past one of the men. But when the man saw someone suddenly appear, he did not even think and chopped down with his machete. Tang Jing did not even look and casually waved his hand. With a kacha sound, the man's wrist was broken and the machete fell to the ground. The other man saw this, and with a wave of his machete, he chopped the man to the ground. These two groups of people had different armbands on their arms to distinguish them. The black armbands were Boss Fan's people, the blue armbands were Lin Hu's people, and the one who wanted to chop Tang Jing up was Boss Fan's little brother. In front of Tang Jing, another two lackeys who were fighting each other blocked his path. He locked onto the lackey with the black armband and gave him a flying kick. With a crack, the lackey's shin broke, causing him to lose his balance and fall to the ground in an instant. Then he was slashed to the ground again by his opponent, crying like a ghost and howling like a wolf. Tang Jing had knocked down 7 of Big Head Fan's lackeys in just a dozen meters. Many people had already noticed this Chen Yaojin who had appeared out of nowhere. Many people wanted to chase after him, but they couldn't. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the center of the battlefield. Lin Hu dodged the saber in a sorry state. His body was wounded again, and blood splattered everywhere. However, Lin Hu was still the boss. He clenched his teeth and did not give up. If he gave up, he would lose. If he lost, it would mean that all his hard work over the past few decades would be for naught. Lin Hu, you're about to die, yet you still don't want to surrender? Hee, you must be counting on that brat Tang Jing to save you. Let me tell you, young Master Huang has already killed him, so you can stop daydreaming. Boss Fan had a feeling of exultation. After leaving Huang Xiang's villa that night, He was certain that Tang Jing would die without a doubt. Therefore, he didn't ask for confirmation. Instead, he gathered his lackeys and impatiently sent a letter of challenge to Lin Hu. The two groups of people pulled each other to the outskirts of the city and fought to the death. Whoever left standing would be the victor. This was the law of the underworld. Whoever had the bigger fist would be the boss, and their benefits would be greater. Moreover, this kind of letter of challenge was the most direct and easiest way to gain the approval of others. Ordinary balance wasn't limited to Lin Hu and Boss Fan's group. Others were also eyeing them covetously. Boss Fan was very confident. If he defeated Lin Hu in this way, then he would go to Lin Hu's territory and plant his flag. That would be his territory. This kind of method was called basking in the sun. It was to bask in the sun and then fight to the death. The winner would be the king, and the loser would be the bandit. Boss Fan, don't be arrogant. If you say Brother Tang is dead, then he's dead. Who do you think you are? Huang Xiang wants to kill him? Dream on. Don't you know that Huang Xiang suffered a loss at his hands? Lin Hu grinned and retorted while enduring the pain. Boss Fan's heart trembled. He still didn't know that Huang Xiang suffered a loss at Tang Zheng's hands. However, these matters of the past were not important. The important thing was that Tang Zheng was dead. I see that you won't cry until you see the coffin. Then I'll send you to accompany him on the road to the Yellow Springs. Boss Fan stomped on the ground and soared into the air. Using the momentum of his fall, he fiercely chopped down at Lin Hu. Lin Hu hurriedly used his blade to block. Suddenly, he saw Tang Jing behind Boss Fan. He was overjoyed at the unexpected good news. Boss Fan obviously didn't notice that there was an extra person behind him. Seeing that Lin Hu was about to be chopped down, Lin Hu seemed to be possessed and didn't move an inch. He didn't even try to block. Boss Fan was overjoyed and roared, "Lin Hu, accept your death." Bang! Before the chopping blade could fall, a strong force came from behind him. He directly flew over Lin Hu's head and fell flat on his face. F***CK, who sneak attacked me? Boss Fan reacted quickly. He pushed his palms against the ground and flipped over. He angrily glared at the attacker. Boss Fan, didn't you say that I was dead? Do you think I'm a human or a ghost? Tang Zheng asked with a murderous look. Boss Fan was so scared that his eyes were wide open. He cried out in alarm, "Why aren't you dead?" "It won't be that easy to kill me." Lin Hu was pleasantly surprised. Originally, when he saw Boss Fan's solemn vow and even brought out Huang Xiang, he almost believed that Tang Zheng was dead. But now it was clear that it was all nonsense. With Tang Zheng here, he would definitely win. "Brother Tang, you're finally here." Tang Zheng lightly nodded and said, "You rest for a bit. I'll deal with him. He tried to assassinate me before, so I'll settle the score with him now. He has big dog guts. He actually dares to try and assassinate you." Lin Hu angrily said. Boss Fan's eyes spun around, but he couldn't find a way to dissolve the hatred. It was clear that Tang Jing wouldn't let him go. He gathered his courage and loudly roared, "F***C, Tang Jing, don't think that I'm afraid of you. You're awesome, right? Today, I have dozens of brothers. I'll definitely chop you into pieces." Boss Fan brought over 80 people while Lin Hu only brought over 60. After this fierce battle, Boss Fan still had 34 brothers standing, so he had the confidence to do so. But Lin Hu wasn't someone to be trifled with. He said, "Lin Hu, do you think that my 20 to 30 brothers are just decorations? Brothers, chop them up for me. Chop them up and Boss Fan's territory will be ours." Lin Hu's little brothers all responded loudly. Since their boss was so passionate, they naturally wouldn't hold him back. Tang Zheng looked at Boss Fan with ridicule and said, "Is this what you meant by chop me into pieces? I don't think so." Boss Fan subconsciously took a step back and said, "Tang Zheng, don't be complacent. Young Master Huang is nearby. Young Master Huang has already mastered his godly technique. If you dare to act rashly, then you're dead. Then call him out. If you can't call him out, then I can only deal with you." Tang Zheng coldly laughed. Boss Fan panicked. Huang Xiang wasn't even here. He was just deliberately mystifying things. But he still braced himself and said, Is young Master Huang someone you can see just because you want to? If you obediently surrender, then young Master Huang may let you live. Ha, you only know how to blabber. As a boss, you're too weak. Tang Jing stretched out his hand and directly attacked. After 2 days of recuperation, he unceasingly circulated his energy to heal his injuries. His broken ribs were almost completely healed, so it didn't affect his fighting ability. This time, he didn't use Transcendent Flying Immortal. Firstly, dealing with Boss Fan didn't require such exquisite martial arts. Secondly, last time he used it in front of Qin Lao. It attracted the attention of the other party, who even left ordinary balance overnight. This gave him a new understanding of Transcendent Flying Immortal. This sword technique was too powerful. If it fell into the eyes of others, it might not be a good thing. So he temporarily used the Heaven Gathering Hand. In any case, he was very familiar with the Heaven Gathering Hand. When he used it, the sky was filled with hand shadows. In the blink of an eye, he attacked in front of Boss Fan. Boss Fan raised his blade and chopped down. His blade technique wasn't bad. It was very methodical. Moreover, it was powerful and heavy. Its power was definitely not small. Tang Jing didn't dodge. He raised one hand and blocked the other's wrist, making it impossible for the blade to come down. His other hand quickly slapped towards Boss Fan's chest. Boss Fan was shocked and hurriedly retreated. He slashed his blade in front of his chest, wanting to block Tang Jing's hand. However, with a flash of his hand, Tang Jing's hand went past his blade and slapped his chest with both palms. Pooh! Boss Fan spat out a mouthful of blood. His chest instantly caved in. He attacked with his back in an attempt to dissipate some of the force. However, Tang Jing's attack was too powerful. Even if he managed to dissipate some of the force, it still wasn't easy. Tang Jing easily dodged the blood. With a single step, he was beside Boss Fan. Boss Fan slashed his blade to the side, but found that the blade hit empty air. Tang Jing's palm had silently struck below his ribs. This strike was very heavy. Boss Fan was directly sent flying and fiercely fell to the ground. Even his blade was knocked out of his hand. Tang Jing was like a shadow as he stood beside Boss Fan and coldly said, "Now you know the consequences of offending me." Boss Fan was scared to death. He never thought that Tang Jing's martial arts would have reached such a high level. He was like a completely different person compared to when they were in the arena. If he were to let those boxers exchange blows with him, they wouldn't be able to last more than a few moves. "Tang Jing, please let me go. I will never be your enemy again." Boss Fan was scared. He hurriedly begged for mercy. As long as there was life, there was hope. In order to save his life, he had to admit defeat. Boss Fan wasn't a tough bone to begin with. If he was, then he wouldn't be so close to Huang Xiang. "Let you go? Have you ever thought of letting me go?" Tang Jing retorted. Boss Fan was at a loss for words. He had already gone to the hospital to assassinate Tang Jing. How could he ever think of letting him go? "I was blinded by lard. I'm not a person, I'm a bastard. I won't dare to do it again." Boss Fan slapped himself in the face, causing half of his face to immediately swell up. "Tang Jing, no, young Master Tang, let me go. I'll listen to you from now on. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I'll be your dog." An untrained dog will bite its owner. Tang Jing bent down and picked up the blade. He raised his hand and swung it down. Chapter 105. Blood splattered everywhere, and an ear-piercing scream instantly spread throughout the small forest. Everyone subconsciously stopped their attacks and focused their attention on the scene. Sogu, 360, Lin, whose mouth twitched as his mind trembled. Tang Jing's ruthlessness had shocked him. It made him think of many things and made him make up his mind. If it was said that he had previously placed himself on the same level as Tang Jing, then after this battle he had completely lowered himself and was filled with admiration and reverence. This high school student that he had almost made a feud with was not someone he could fight against. His blood began to boil as he was filled with anticipation. He had such achievements at such a young age, just how far could he go in the future? However, when he saw Boss Fan wailing on the ground, he did not have a trace of pity. Sooner or later, he would have to pay for what he did. If you were not strong enough, then you would be killed by others. He walked over and saw that Boss Fan's wrists and ankles were dripping with blood. The tendons in his hands and ankles had been cut. Lin Hu's heart was moved. When Tang Jing raised his knife, he thought that Tang Jing wanted to kill Boss Fan. If Tang Jing had really killed someone, then Lin Hu would have risked his life to settle this matter. However, he did not kill anyone. This Tang Jing was a meticulous person. If he killed someone in front of so many people, then it would not have a good effect. Moreover, he would have put himself in danger. This was an extremely disadvantageous matter. However, Tang Jing only cut Boss Fan's tendons and directly crippled him. This was in accordance with the rules of the underworld and also completely eliminated this threat. It was indeed the most suitable method. Clean this up. Tang Jing threw away the knife and calmly said. There was no longer any trace of his ruthless killing intent. However, the scene from before had been deeply imprinted in everyone's minds. Yes, Boss Fan has been arrogant for half his life. From now on, he will beg for a living. Lin Hu's attitude became even more respectful. He called out to two of his subordinates and carried Boss Fan away. Big Head Fan only cared about howling in pain. He didn't even dare to look at Tang Jing. Tang Jing looked around and swept his gaze over everyone. Everyone who met his gaze subconsciously lowered their heads, not daring to look him in the eye. Tang Jing's eyes were actually very calm, just like an ordinary high school student's. However, those who were looked at by him felt a burning sensation. A sense of pressure spontaneously rose from the bottom of their hearts. This was what it meant to be imposing. Imperceptibly, Tang Jing had developed this kind of aura over time. Once it erupted, it was like the sun, making others unable to look at it directly. When Big Head Fan's underlings saw that their boss had been crippled, they all dropped their weapons and didn't dare to fight anymore. Without a doubt, Tang Jing had single-handedly turned the tide of the battle. This was not a battle on the battlefield. This kind of street fight had a strong sense of heroism. Often, a suppressive expert could decide the outcome of a battle. Tang Jing was very satisfied. He felt refreshed and said, "Brother Hu, I'm leaving. Young Master Tang, please wait a moment. We have won this battle. I will first send my underlings to Big Head Fan's territory to plant the flag. Can I invite you to my place to sit for a while?" Lin Hu respectfully invited. Moreover, he changed the way he addressed Tang Jing. He no longer called him Brother Tang, but Young Master Tang. Tang Jing nodded in agreement. "Young Master Tang, please don't call me Brother Hu in the future. It's too much for me. Just call me Huzi." Lin Hu took the initiative to show weakness. Tang Jing hesitated for a moment. However, he understood the other's intentions and agreed. Lin Hu quickly arranged for his underlings to plant the flag and clean up the mess. Meanwhile, he and Tang Jing sat in a car in the distance. Under everyone's gazes, they gradually drove away. Huazi drove. From time to time, he would look at his boss and Tang Jing from the rearview mirror. When he had just arrived, he saw Tang Jing's hand swing down and directly end the battle. One could imagine the shock in his heart. Thinking back to the time when he dared to be disrespectful to Tang Dehai, he simply ate a leopard's guts. He couldn't help but admire his boss's eyesight. "Young Master Tang, boss, we're here." Huazi stopped the car in front of Xingshi Bar and respectfully reported. Lin Hu was the first to get off the car. Then, he went around to Tang Jing's side and took the initiative to open the car door. He slightly bowed. "Young Master Tang, please." Tang Jing got off the car. He didn't feel uncomfortable at all. When other people faced this kind of situation, they would feel a little uneasy. However, Tang Jing's calmness seemed to be innate. In the past, it was just hidden. Now, it gradually broke out. Xingshi Bar. It was still the office on the second floor. This time, the one sitting at the head of the table was not Lin Hu but Tang Jing. Tang Jing glanced around. He still remembered that this was the office where he first met Lin Hu. Moreover, they had a big fight. With the passage of time, the conflict between the two has been completely resolved. Instead, it has become a closer relationship. "Young Master Tang, this time it was all thanks to your righteous help. Otherwise, I would have fallen." I, Lin Hu, will remember this kindness in my heart. Lin Hu's face was solemn as he said in a deep voice. Tang Zheng waved his hand and said, "It's nothing. Moreover, with our relationship, I can't just stand by and watch you die." Lin Hu's heart was happy. It seems that his position in the other's heart was not bad. So, he struck while the iron was hot. "Young Master Tang, I have a presumptuous request." "Speak. You've also seen my property, so I want to transfer it to you." Lin Hu calmly said, without a trace of reluctance. Even Dong Zi, who was standing at the side, couldn't help but feel his eyelids jump. He was incomparably surprised. Tang Zheng looked at Lin Hu with astonishment. Although he did not know how many businesses Lin Hu had, he was certain that it was worth tens of millions. But he actually wanted to transfer it to Tang Zheng. This courage made Tang Zheng have a whole new level of respect for him. In this world, there were many people who were greedy for power and wealth. Those who dared to hand over their benefits to others were few and far between. However, Tang Zheng did not show too much of a reaction. He lightly said, "I don't have the money to accept your business. No, I'm giving it to young Master Tang. I don't need a single cent," Lin Hu resolutely said as if he did not feel any heartache. Tang Zheng deeply looked at Lin Hu as if he wanted to re-examine him. "But today, my life was saved by young Master Tang. If you didn't act, I would have lost without a doubt. This business would also have been snatched away by Boss Fan." And Lin Hu slightly hesitated and said, "My ability is not enough to support such a large business. Only you, young Master Tang, have this ability. Be a bit more specific." Tang Zheng was a bit interested. "In ordinary balance, other than me and Boss Fan, there are two other bosses. One is Hoodlum and the other is Fire Phoenix. These two are not ordinary people. Especially Hoodlum. In the past, he was Boss Huang's head horse. Later on, he came out to do things on his own. In reality, he was acting on behalf of Boss Huang. This person is very good at fighting." Tang Zheng nodded. He did not think that ordinary balance would have such a complicated relationship. "Who is Boss Huang?" "Actually, young Master Tang and Boss Huang have already formed a grudge. He is Huang Xiang's father. His name is Huang Biao and his nickname is Huang Si. He is an unfathomable expert. Don't look at how ordinary balance has so many forces. If he stood up and shouted, everyone would have no choice but to listen to him." Tang Jing shivered. It seems that he and the Huang family were fated to be involved. However, he did not have a good impression of the Huang family. According to Boss Fan, Huang Xiang had tried to assassinate him before. Although he did not know why the other party did not succeed, it was not important. What was important was that both sides were in a life and death situation. The King of Medicine did not mention the battle that night. In the King of Medicine's mind, finding out the condition of Tang Zheng's body was the most important thing. Everything else was just a small episode not worth mentioning. "Oh, so you will also listen to him?" Tang Zheng asked with interest. Lin Hu firmly shook his head. "From today onwards, I will only listen to young Master Tang." Tang Zheng thoughtfully nodded his head. No matter what Lin Hu's final plan was, at least his attitude was sincere. Moreover, he originally wanted to deal with Huang Xiang, and this would also trigger Huang Si's nerves. Thus, agreeing to Lin Hu's request was not impossible. Moreover, Lin Hu was not a burden and could be a great help to him. Huang Si was a deeply rooted local snake. If he wanted to overthrow him, it would not be as simple as killing his way to his door. In addition, his cultivation was definitely not as good as Huang Si's. Rashly killing his way to his door would be like throwing an egg at a rock. "Tell me about this hoodlum," Tang Jing thoughtfully said. "Hoodlum represents the interests of the Huang family and controls the most prosperous area in ordinary Balance City. Moreover, this person is vicious and merciless. He dares to fight and fight. Back when he was Huang Si's horse, he was already famous for his bravery and loyalty to Huang Si. Otherwise, he would not have been chosen by Huang Si to be his spokesperson. Hoodlum has some business acumen and the businesses under him are doing very well. He also has guts and dares to touch prostitution, gambling and drugs. With Huang Xi's protection, these few years he has been developing rapidly. If not for the fact that the northern part of the city is an old district and there is not much profit to be made, I'm afraid he would have already made a move on me. This hoodlum was not simple. However, to dare touch prostitution, gambling and drugs, he really had guts. This was especially true for drugs. This was the country's most severe crackdown on drugs, and of course it was also the most profitable. Tang Zheng did not know much about the underworld. Since he would not be able to avoid it in the future, he might as well understand it. He then asked, "Then what is the situation of your businesses?" "I don't have many businesses. I only have baths and bars. However, I don't have as many resources as Hoodlum. Therefore, I only sell a bit of alcohol and raise a few girls. I also collect protection fees to earn money. I can't compare to Hoodlum." How come you don't touch drugs and gambling?" Lin, whose face revealed a trace of sadness as he resolutely said, "I hate drugs. Back then, my wife died from drug addiction. Back then I was doing pretty well. Although I wasn't the boss, I still had a bit of money, so I got married. After marriage I was very happy. However, later on, my wife became addicted to drugs. She refused to change and in the end, she died from drug addiction." Lin, who gnashed his teeth as he said this. It seems that although this matter had passed for a long time, the scar in his heart was still very painful. Because of this, when I became the boss, I did not allow drugs to enter my businesses. Because of this, there were many fights. In the end, when others saw that I had made up my mind, no one dared to come to my businesses to sell drugs. It is also because of this that my businesses and profits can't compare to others. Chapter 106. Tang Zheng patted his shoulder and comforted him. "You made the right decision. As a man, there are things you can do and things you can't do. Drugs are things you can't touch. Fairy search, download novels for free. Drugs not only harm a person, but also the family of a drug addict will fall into a bottomless abyss. Moreover, this country was bullied because of the Opium War. As a young man with correct values, he naturally hated drugs." Lin, who nodded, took a deep breath, and tried to calm his mind as much as possible and said, "If there is something, then there is something to be gained. It is also because of this reason that my place is rarely checked by the police, which saves me a lot of trouble." "What about the casino?" Tang Zheng still remembered the casino in the ordinary balance villa. Of course, he was also very clear about how terrifying the casino's ability to make money was. The casino needs a lot of money to back it up. My strength is not enough, so I can't play it. But in my territory, there are some small casinos. My little brothers also go to the casinos to collect protection fees, but they don't participate in the operation. Tang Zheng had a general understanding of Lin Hu's strength and said, "What's the situation with that fire phoenix? This woman is not simple. She is in her 30s. When she was in her teens, she came out as a delinquent girl. She dared to fight and later married her own boss. But this boss did not live long and was hacked to death. Fire Phoenix took over his position. Originally, I thought that she would not be able to protect me. The others were all eyeing her territory covetously, but in the end, she miraculously survived. These years, she has also stabilized. Her strength is even a bit stronger than mine. Oh, why do I feel that among these bosses, you are the most miserable?" Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. Lin, who wasn't embarrassed at all and directly nodded his head in acknowledgement, "That is indeed the case. The northern part of the city is an old part of the city, so there is very little profit to be had. Moreover, I have put so many shackles on myself, so this little brother really hasn't enjoyed much with me. Boss, we are all willing to follow you. It is not just for the money." Dong Zi stood up and said with righteous indignation. Lin, who smiled and gestured for Dong Zi to sit down, saying, "I understand your thoughts, so I am very grateful to you. Now you understand why I was interested in the profits from the junkyard." Tang Zheng expressed his understanding and said, "Since we have already formed a grudge with Huang Xi, then we have to weaken his strength as much as possible. This time you also snatched away Boss Fan's territory, so your strength has increased greatly. This will also attract their attention, so our current target is Hoodlum. He is Huang Xi's hand, so we have to cut off his hand. Lin Hu excitedly nodded his head. That's also what I was thinking. If we were to directly face Huang Xi, our chances of victory would not be high. But Hoodlum is not like Boss Fan. This person has a brain and his strength is not bad. He is far from being as easy to deal with as Boss Fan. Moreover, I just fought with Boss Fan, so it will definitely attract the attention of the police, so I have to stay low for a while. Then let's stop on the surface and make preparations in secret to avoid being caught off guard when the time comes. Also, what is the relationship between Fire Phoenix and Huang Xi? Fire Phoenix obviously respects Huang Xi on the surface, but a woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea. What exactly is she thinking in her heart? No one knows. Could it be that young Master Tang wants to ally with Fire Phoenix to deal with Hoodlum? This will not be easy. Fire Phoenix is more cautious and will not easily make a move. Who hacked her husband to death? This I do not know. Her husband was also a fierce person. That year before Huang Xi retreated to the background, he often went against Huang Xi. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up. Then could his death have been caused by Huang Xi? This is hard to say. There is no evidence. Hey, so what if there is no evidence? The key is to believe in this point. I believe that Fire Phoenix also has a scale in her heart. It is just that she is not Huang Xi's opponent, so she does not dare to show it. You go and get in touch with Fire Phoenix and probe her thoughts. If we can ally with her, then our chances of victory will be much higher. Tang Jing arranged. Lin Hu agreed. Now that his territory was larger than Fire Phoenix's, Fire Phoenix would feel a sense of danger. Perhaps there really was a possibility of them working together. Okay, we will stop here for today. If you have any news, then let me know. Properly manage your territory. Tang Zheng stood up and prepared to leave. Young Master Tang, this is your territory. Lin Hu corrected him. Tang Zheng gave an enigmatic smile and said, there is no need to give it to me. This place was taken down by your blade and gun. Moreover, I am a student and not someone from the underworld. I will not take your territory. However, our goals are the same. If you need any help, I will lend you a hand. Tang Zheng was a cultivator and his vision was not small. How could he possibly care about the ordinary balance underworld's benefits? His top priority was to raise his cultivation level, and he could not possibly place his focus on the underworld's fighting and killing. In addition, if his grandfather knew that he was deeply involved with the underworld, he would also be worried. Lin Hu watched as Tang Zheng disappeared through the door and did not come back to his senses. This was an opportunity to hand over to him, but he was unexpectedly not moved. Lin Hu really could not see through Tang Zheng. Boss, how could he refuse? Then are we still going to listen to him? Dong Zi asked in disbelief. Lin Hu firmly said, of course we will listen to him. Although he does not want it, I will still help him guard this property. He is equivalent to our boss behind the scenes. At any time, as long as he gives the order, I will hand it over to him. Lin Hu knew that Tang Zheng's vision was no longer limited to this city. Although he did not know the other's specific thoughts, following him may allow him to see scenery that he did not even dare to imagine before. When Tang Zheng returned home, the sky had already darkened. From afar, he could see two slender figures standing in front of the door. Compared to the small house, they formed a completely different scenery. Passers-by all turned to look at them. These two people were truly too beautiful, like two pearls. Quickly walking over, the two people had already come to greet him. Fang Shishir was like a dancing butterfly as she flew towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng held her in his arms, feeling the breathtaking softness. He patted her back and asked, why did you two come? I came to see you. Why did you run out? You should be at home recuperating. Fang Shishir said with concern. I am already fine, so I went out for a walk to get some fresh air. Tang Zheng moved his muscles to show off. Injured muscles and bones take 100 days to recover. This is a big matter and cannot be taken lightly. But if your body is better, you won't have to miss this week's monthly exam. Monthly exam? Tang Zheng was shocked. He immediately remembered that Lu Qingmei wanted him to get first place in the monthly exam. This was not in line with his original plan. He was originally prepared to compromise, but this time he had a way to muddle through. Using his injury as an excuse to not go to class for a few days, he could muddle through. Sure, tell Teacher Lu tomorrow that I am still recuperating and will not be able to participate in the monthly exam. No problem. Wait until the high school exam to show your strength. At that time, you will definitely amaze everyone and surprise everyone. Fang Shishir agreed. Hey, can the two of you not be so lovey-dovey? Yi Dingdang finally couldn't help but speak up. She was specifically asked by Feng Xinyang to come find Tang Zheng. She didn't expect that after many twists and turns, she would find Fang Shishir standing in front of his door. Yi Dingdang didn't leave. If she left, wouldn't that mean that she was afraid of Fang Shishir? So she simply waited at the door. The two were like door gods, occasionally looking at each other but not speaking. Do you need something from me? Tang Zheng let go of Fang Shishir. Fang Shishir still held his hand and walked towards Yi Dingdang. Of course there's something. Yi Dingdang hatefully stared at the two's tightly held hands and said with a complicated expression. What is it? Let's talk alone. Then I'll go in first. Fang Shishir obediently opened the door and entered the room. Yi Dingdang looked at him and said, First, I want to thank you for giving me the Jade Women's Heart Sutra. It is very suitable for me. Moreover, this cultivation technique is very precious. I don't know how to thank you. I already said that I don't need your thanks. I just wanted to help. Tang Zheng shrugged and generously said. Yi Dingdang's eyes flashed with a bright light. Tang Zheng at this moment was very charming. Anyone who easily gave a priceless treasure to another without asking for anything in return would have a charm that would make others submit. Yi Dingdang collected her thoughts and continued to say, I already know about the life-continuing pill. Tang Zheng didn't find it strange and nodded, indicating for her to continue. I didn't think that you wouldn't agree to save him. You also saw how he treated me. Do you think I need to save him? Tang Zheng asked back. Yi Dingdang squeezed out a smile and said, You really are bold. When I heard Feng Xinyang talk about this matter, I also felt that it was inconceivable. But I really admire your style. You flatter me. I don't have any big principles, but I still have some small principles. Do you know that the old man is very angry? In these past years, no one has ever dared to treat him like this. People always have to experience their first time. Seeing his serious appearance, Yi Dingdang couldn't help but laugh. I really admire you. You didn't come today just to express your admiration, right? Tang Zheng calmly asked. Don't you know that you are already in danger? Yi Dingdang decided not to talk about her own matters and prepared to test Tang Zheng's reaction. I have never been safe. But I still have a bit of ability to protect myself, so I won't die for now. But this time is different from before. The old man is a 9th grade natal stage cultivator. This is already very frightening. You are not his opponent. Tang Zheng faintly smiled and said, It seems like he really wants to kill and steal. All right, then I will wait for him. Are you stupid or are you really not afraid of death? Yi Dingdang rolled her eyes at him. Everyone is afraid of death, so how can I not be afraid of death? But since he wants to kill, I can't just sit and wait for death. Hey, you really are daring. But since you gave me the Jade Women's Heart Sutra, I will give you a clear path to resolve this crisis. Oh, so kind? Of course I am kind. I have always been kind. Don't you know? Yi Dingdang somewhat playfully said. Then I am all ears. Chapter 107. Tang Zheng originally thought that Yi Dingdang would have some kind of brilliant plan, but after hearing her words, his expression became strange and he couldn't help but interrupt her. Is your plan for yourself or for me? Yi Dingdang raised her head, revealing her snow-white neck. Her body under the school uniform was especially tall, making Tang Zheng involuntarily think of the time when they shared the same bed. Sogu, 360, Soso search Jade XS to download novels for free. Yi Dingdang clearly didn't notice Tang Zheng's bad intentions and righteously said, Of course I'm doing this for you, how could it be for myself? Saying this, her eyes flashed, but she felt a bit guilty and silently cursed. Feng Xinyang, all of this was your plan, but you want me to carry it out. Shouldn't you be the one saying it as the mother, humph? Tang Jing shook his head and retorted, I don't think so, you're clearly the one benefiting more. How could that be? You won't be in any danger like this, and I'm just taking a little bit of benefit. Yi Dingdang used her fingernails to point out, as if she wanted to remind herself that the benefits were insignificant. You're just taking things from your left pocket to your right pocket? It's your Ye family that's taking advantage. Tang Jing disagreed. Yi Dingdang's expression changed and said in a deep voice, Don't speak nonsense, I'm greater than over equal to, surnamed Yi, I'm from the ordinary Balance Ye family, not the Beijing Ye family. Seeing her firm expression, he could understand her feelings. His expression also became serious as he said, You want me to give the life-continuing pill to Yi Xuanji so that he can cancel your marriage with Song Yu. No matter how you look at it, I feel like you have more benefits. This was Feng Xinyang's plan. Not only could it save Tang Zhang's life, but it could also resolve Yi Dingdang's crisis, killing two birds with one stone. This way you won't be in any danger, isn't that great? Yi Dingdang guiltily lowered her head. Just agree, this is good for both of us. Moreover, do you have the heart to see me marry Song Yu? Why wouldn't I have the heart? Song Yu is elegant, rich, and powerful. He's the prince that many girls dream of. Tang Jing didn't take the bait. In any case, he is not my type. Moreover, I have already announced to the outside world that you are my fiancé, so you should be responsible for me, your fiancé, to the end. Yi Dingdang hardened her heart and loudly said, Shu, lower your voice, I said this to help you, but everyone knows it's fake. Tang Jing looked into the room, not knowing if Feng Shishir heard. Anyways, the whole school already knows that you're my fiancé. If you don't agree, I'll continue to say this and make you a heartless man that everyone despises, Chin Shimmy. Yi Dingdang's eyes flashed with a trace of craftiness as she resolutely said. Originally, Feng Xinyang wanted her to act gentle, but Yi Dingdang clearly didn't follow the script and returned to her original nature, directly threatening him. Tang Zhang was speechless. Why was this Yi Dingdang pestering him endlessly? Of course he was not afraid of being scolded behind his back, as it was just a false rumor, but he was worried that Feng Shishir would be troubled. To be honest, he really didn't want to bother with Yi Xuanji, since his life and death had nothing to do with him. Brat, don't you want a 300-year-old ginseng to refine a spirit-gathering pill? Yi Xuanji definitely has a way to get it, so add this condition to it. This girl is right, you're not Yi Xuanji's opponent right now, so there's no need to make such a strong enemy. Moreover, you can deepen your relationship with this girl, which will be more beneficial for you to take her down in the future. You can't just give this girl to Song Yu. Tian Chanzi once again joined in. Ginseng. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up. That's right, I have no way to find this ingredient, but Yi Xuanji definitely has a way. Your top priority is to refine a spirit-gathering pill to increase your cultivation. Something like the life-continuing pill, other people treat it as a priceless treasure, but it doesn't have much use for you. Why don't you use it to exchange for something useful to you? Moreover, if others know that you don't have it, they won't have any ideas about you. This is killing two birds with one stone. Tian Chanzi analyzed. He had to admit that sometimes Tang Zheng's perspective was still lacking, and the experienced and astute Tian Chanzi just happened to make up for this. Seeing Tang Zheng hesitate, Yi Dingdang was also very nervous. If Tang Zheng didn't agree, then she would be in trouble, so she anxiously asked, Do you agree or not? Okay, I agree, but I have a condition. What condition? Yi Dingdang was overjoyed, but her heart became nervous. He wouldn't ask for something excessive, right? If he did, what would I do? I need a 300-year-old ginseng, tell him to prepare it. 300-year-old ginseng. Yi Dingdang breathed a sigh of relief, but she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. What do you need that for? You don't have to worry about that. Just go back and tell him to decide for himself. Okay, I'll keep it in mind. You can't go back on your words. Yi Dingdang believed that the old man would agree. After all, this was related to his life, but she was most afraid that Tang Zheng would go back on his words. A gentleman's word cannot be taken back. Tang Zhang's answer was resolute and decisive. Yi Dingdang curled her lips and criticized in her heart. He didn't know how to be modest at all, and still called himself a gentleman. If there's nothing else, I'll go in. What? Can't wait to see your lover. Yi Dingdang teased, but there was a hint of jealousy in her voice. Yes, so forgive me for not seeing you out. Tang Zheng went in, leaving Yi Dingdang stomping her feet and muttering, "Humph, I don't want to stand here." Are you done? Fang Shishir saw him come in and quickly went to welcome him. I want to cook for you, how do I do this? She awkwardly and anxiously pointed at the rice cooker. Sorry, I've never cooked before, so I don't know how to do it. Am I stupid? Fang Shishir lowered her head in embarrassment. Tang Zheng's head warmed as he said, You're so smart, how can you be stupid? It's just that you haven't come into contact with it before. This kind of rich young miss was willing to cook for him. If he said that he wasn't moved, then he would be lying. Then I'll start learning from today. I believe that I can also make delicious food. Fang Shishir smiled, revealing 2 shallow dimples. Okay, I'll teach you. Now don't move and watch me do it. Tang Jing rolled up his sleeves and moved quickly. He washed the rice, washed the pot, and then used the rice cooker to cook the rice. Then he began to wash and cut the vegetables. There was a series of ding-ding-ding sounds. The crisp sound of the kitchen knife cutting on the chopping board was like a piece of music, very rhythmic and charming. Let me try. Fang Shishir was eager to try. Be careful, this knife is very sharp. Fang Shishir held the knife and cut the vegetables like he did, but she didn't have the ease he had. The ingredients she cut were all big and small. It's always like this for the first time. Just do it more often. Tang Jing encouraged. Fang Shishir nodded and gritted her teeth. Suddenly, the kitchen knife slipped and she cried out in pain. Her finger was cut and blood flowed out. She immediately frowned in pain. Tang Jing hurriedly grabbed her hand and looked at it. Her finger had been cut open. He put her finger into his mouth with heartache, wanting to suck the blood away. This was a subconscious action because he used to do this. But Fang Shishir was stunned to see her finger in Tang Zheng's mouth. She immediately blushed, but she didn't stop him. Her heart was warm. Put a band-aid on it. Does it still hurt? Tang Zheng asked softly. Fang Shishir gently shook her head, looked at him with shining eyes and whispered, It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt? You were screaming just now. It hurt just now, but it doesn't hurt now. Fang Shishir showed a charming smile. How can it be so fast, silly girl? Tang Zheng put on the band-aid. Seeing that she was still looking at him, he touched his face and asked, Is there a flower on my face? Fang Shishir didn't answer him, but expressed her feelings with practical actions. She hugged his neck, raised her head and kissed his lips. Since the beauty took the initiative to throw herself into his arms, Tang Jing naturally would not reject her. He tightly embraced her slender waist and passionately kissed her. The two people's rapid breathing caused the temperature in the room to rise. Tang Zheng's hands began to move. His hands went all the way down her back and wrapped around her perky buttocks. Although Fang Shishir's body was still raw, it showed a little maturity. That amazing elasticity was particularly attractive. Tang Jing lovingly hugged her as the two tightly stuck together. Fang Shishir seemed as if she was about to melt as she softly fell into his embrace. Go inside. Fang Shishir said, almost moaning. Tang Jing directly carried her up and walked to his room. Fang Shishir's hands hooked around his neck and looked at him lovingly. Tang Jing gently placed her on the bed and leaned over to kiss her, entangling them together. His hands were not idle. Little by little, they moved up from her legs to her buttocks and slowly reached her chest. Through her clothes, he could still feel the warm and soft fullness. Fang Shishir's body stiffened and trembled with excitement. But she didn't stop Tang Zheng's attack. She let his hands hold her peaks through her clothes. Fang Shishir's breathing became more rapid. Her eyes were like autumn water and her face was like peach blossoms. She was faintly anticipating and also a little afraid. But she still gathered her courage and gave him an encouraging look. Tang Zheng's hands moved more vigorously. Even through her clothes, Fang Shishir felt her body heat up. It was as if she was going to burn up. She couldn't help but moan. Her hands also hugged Tang Zheng's body and stroked it. Tang Zheng was even more excited. He felt that his blood was boiling. He was no longer satisfied with this little achievement. He began to conquer her. Unknowingly, his hands had already moved under her clothes. Her skin was white and delicate, like mutton fat jade. When his fingers touched it, her body trembled slightly. His big hands quickly moved up and touched her underwear. Then he quickly moved in. The underwear wrapped his hands tightly, but it made the contact between his hands and her skin even more intimate. Tang Zheng's hands were stuffed. They were soft and delicate, making his heart burn more and more. Even his eyes were about to spit fire. Chapter 108. Both parties had already read the latest chapter. Fang Shishir's clothes had already been pushed up, exposing her 2 snow-white breasts to the air. There was even a little bit of Tang Zheng's saliva on them. Obviously, he had already tasted this beautiful delicacy. Fang Shishir's pink face was like a peach blossom, showing a kind of soul-stirring beauty. Both parties were ready to take the next step when a soft sound came from outside the door. It was the sound of the rice cooker, indicating that the rice was ready. Fang Shishir was already in a state of delirium and did not notice this soft sound. However, Tang Zheng's ears were sharp and this sound still interrupted his mood, causing him to be shocked. They were at home and the sky was about to turn dark. Grandpa would be back soon from work. If they were to see this scene, Tang Zheng's thick skin would not matter, but Fang Shishir's thin skin would definitely be too embarrassed to show her face. He stopped abruptly, but Fang Shishir was still immersed in it. She was still leaning on him, her chest pressed against Tang Zheng's body, rubbing and changing shape, almost igniting the fire in Tang Zheng's head. Fortunately, Tang Zheng's self-control was not bad. He whispered in her ear, "Grandfather might be back soon." Fang Shishir's movements suddenly stopped. After pausing for a few seconds, she hurriedly tidied up her clothes and complained, "Why didn't you say so earlier? If Grandpa were to see it, it would be so embarrassing." Tang Zheng looked at her flustered appearance and laughed for no reason. "You can't blame me for this. You also have a part to play." It's all your fault. It's all your fault." Fang Shishir stared at him coquettishly. She was so flirtatious that Tang Zheng almost lost control again. "Help me take a look. Is there anything wrong with my clothes? Is it messy? Don't worry, there's no problem. It's very neat. You can't tell what we did just now." Fang Shishir immediately punched him and said, "Why do I feel like you've become bad? I used to think that you were very honest." "Haha, it's too late to realize it now. We've already boarded the pirate ship and can't get off," Tang Zheng said with a proud smile. Fang Shishir also smiled, brimming with happiness and sweetness. "Little Zheng, is there a guest at home?" Tang Dahai's voice sounded from outside the door. "Yes, Grandpa Shishir is here. She's having dinner with us today." Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir walked out of the bedroom and saw their grandfather entering the house. He was carrying a snakeskin bag in his left hand and an iron hook in his right. He was wearing a straw hat on his head. "Grandpa, you're back. Take a rest first. The rice is ready. We can eat after we stir-fry the vegetables." Fang Shishir hurriedly went up and took the snakeskin bag. Tang Dahai hurriedly moved away and said, "Little girl, this thing is dirty. I'll do it. You sit first, you sit." Fang Shishir did not mind as she took the snakeskin bag and said, "Grandpa, you've been tired all day. You sit down and rest first." Tang Dahai was at a loss of what to do. He was used to seeing people avoid him like the plague, so Fang Shishir's casual behavior made him feel at a loss. "This will dirty your clothes," Tang Dahai said. "It's okay. If the clothes are dirty, just wash them." Fang Shishir carried the snakeskin bag to the corner and put it down. She then diligently poured water and handed it over. He was overwhelmed by her favor and stood there blankly. Tang Zheng's mouth curved into a smile. No matter how his relationship with Fang Shishir was, Fang Shishir's attitude made him feel gratified. "Shishir, you sit for a while. I'll stir-fry. I'll watch and learn," The two of them, one stir-frying, the other watching, occasionally made eye contact with each other, revealing deep affection. Looking at this pair, Tang Dehai sighed in his heart, they really are a match made in heaven. This little girl is also sensible. It's just that our family is too poor. This meal was eaten with relish and the atmosphere was very good. After the meal, Fang Shishir took the initiative to wash the dishes. She then pulled Tang Dehai to chat for a while before getting up to say goodbye. Little Zheng, you go send her off. Grandpa, then I'll go back first. I'll come see you next time. Under the dim light, the two held hands. Fang Shishir leaned on Tang Zheng's shoulder, her mouth curved into a crescent moon as she smiled and said, "Are you satisfied with my performance in front of Grandpa today?" "Of course I'm satisfied. You did very well. I haven't seen Grandpa this happy in a long time." Tang Zheng said sincerely. "It's good that you're satisfied. Grandpa is the person closest to you, so of course I have to be good to him." Tang Zheng's heart warmed as he held her hand tighter. Feeling the change in his mood, Fang Shishir directly hugged his arm and pressed her chest against it, causing Tang Zheng's mind to wander. "Tang Zheng, my dad wants to invite you to dinner tomorrow night." "Going to your house again?" "Not my house, they want to eat outside. They want to thank you for saving me." Tang Zheng still remembered the last feast at Hongmen, so he really didn't have the heart to deal with them. But when he saw Fang Shishir's hopeful gaze, he couldn't bear to refuse and agreed. "I knew you were the best to me. Even though they have their faults, they are still my parents." Fang Shishir also knew what he was thinking, so she advised. Tang Zheng smiled and said, "This is nothing. I'm not even afraid of a mountain of blades or a sea of flames. Why would I be afraid of a meal? I knew you were the best to me. Then I'll go back first. Today we didn't finish our business. Let's continue next time." Tang Zheng's heart was burning as he couldn't help but say, "Humphrog." Fang Shishir glanced at him flirtatiously before getting into a taxi and leaving. "Brat, you used a sealing technique on me again. You're pissing me off." Tian Chanzi's voice suddenly sounded again. "Did you succeed this time?" Your skills didn't change, so you definitely didn't succeed. You brat, you really disappoint me. You didn't even seize such a heaven-sent opportunity. You're pissing me off." Previously, Tian Chanzi had already been sealed by Tang Zheng's sealing technique. After all, he and Fang Shishir were so intimate that he didn't want Tian Chanzi to know. So as soon as the seal was lifted, Tian Chanzi couldn't wait to ask, "Do you think everyone is as thirsty as you? Things have to be done step by step. Do you understand?" Tang Zheng said without any good feelings. "Humph, I think you're an idiot. You brat, don't tell me you have a problem in that area. That's why you dilly-dallied for so long." Tian Chanzi maliciously guessed. "You're the one with a problem." The next day, Tang Zheng was practicing martial arts at home when he suddenly heard someone ask from outside the door, "Tang Zheng, are you home?" "Who is it?" "It's me, Lu Qingmei." A cold voice came in, followed by the sound of footsteps. It was clear that she had already entered the room. Tang Zheng was shocked. Why did Lu Qingmei run over? If she found out that my body has recovered, then it would be terrible. Thus, he quickly lied down on the bed and pretended to be weak and said, "Oh, it's Teacher Lu. Why did you come?" "I'm sorry, I can't move right now, so I can't properly entertain you." Just as he finished speaking, Lu Qingmei walked into the bedroom and looked down at him with a bag of fruits in her hand. "Teacher Lu, please sit." Tang Zheng weakly greeted her. Lu Qingmei looked at him as if she wanted to see through him. After a while, she said, "Is your body better?" "A bit better. After a few more days of rest, I can move." "Teacher Lu, I've troubled you to personally come." Tang Zheng said, gratefully. "It's nothing. Tomorrow is the monthly exam. I wanted to see if you could participate in it. You promised me that you would get first place in the school." Lu Qingmei said straightforwardly. Tang Zheng had a headache. This woman really didn't forget about this matter. He could only pretend to be regretful and said, "Teacher Lu, you've also seen my condition. I really can't go to school." His face cooperated with her to make a regretful expression. "Relax, I won't force you. Since you can't participate in the last monthly exam, then wait for the high school exam. At that time, nothing will happen to you, right? No, definitely not. After all, I still have to go to university. That's good. Then I'll wait for you to get first place in the high school exam. Also, when your injuries are better, I have something to discuss with you. What is it? When the time comes, you'll know. So hurry up and recover. I won't disturb your rest. Lu Qingmei put down the fruits and left under Tang Zheng's suspicious gaze. What followed was very calm. Only in the evening did he arrive at the restaurant that he had agreed to meet with the Fong family. It was a very high-class Chinese restaurant and was very majestic. Tang Zheng was led by the waiter to a private room that was already reserved. When he pushed open the door and entered, Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin were already there. Shi Mengqin coldly glanced at him and coldly snorted, directly ignoring his existence. Fang Chonghua nodded at him and said, "Little Tang, come in and sit. Shir is still in the car and will only arrive in a while." Tang Zheng sat down and Fang Chonghua handed him the menu. "You can order whatever you like." Tang Zheng moved the menu away and said, "I'll order when Shir arrives." "That's fine. Since we have time now, let's have a chat. Little Tang, let's get straight to the point. This time you saved Shir and we are very grateful, so we prepared a gift for you." Fang Chonghua pushed a bank card in front of Tang Zheng. "There is 1 million in here. This is not a small amount. Treat it as your reward. But I have a condition. As long as you agree, this 1 million is yours." Fang Chonghua calmly said. Shi Mengqin looked at Tang Zheng, her eyes filled with ridicule and disdain. Tang Zheng acted as if he did not see it and said, "I saved Shir not for money." "Little Tang, young people should not speak so firmly. I only have one condition, which is for you to leave Shir and never bother her again. You and her are not people from the same world. Even if you spend more time and effort, you two will never be together. Loyal words are unpleasant to the ear. Perhaps you feel that these words are not pleasant to hear, but this is reality. With this 1 million, you can buy a house and improve your living conditions. Moreover, it will be enough for your university tuition, so you will benefit the most." Tang Zheng stared at Fang Chonghua and said, "You want to use money to bribe me and make me leave Shir? It's not a bribe. It's a win-win situation." Fang Chonghua was willing to use money to pave the way. He originally wanted to send Fang Shir out of the country after the high school exams so that the two of them would not have a chance. But now it seemed that the two of them were developing out of control, so he used money to smash Tang Zheng. Chapter 109. Throwing money. This was a common tactic used by rich people, but they were all nouveau riche. Even though the Fang family had always boasted of their heritage, they were still unable to get rid of these vulgar tactics. Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin both looked at Tang Zheng. 1 million was not a small sum to normal people, not to mention Tang Zheng's family, so they firmly believed that Tang Zheng would accept it. In the past, they did not think of using money to throw down Tang Zheng because they felt that Tang Zheng was not worth the effort. This time, they found that the situation was already very serious, so they chose this safe method. Tang Zheng indifferently glanced at it, but did not reach out to take it. Instead, he put his hand into his pocket and took out an envelope and said, "This is the medical fees that you paid for me. I'm returning it to you." Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin looked at each other, unable to hide their surprise. What was going on? They were throwing money at him, so why was he giving them money instead? Fang Chonghua's face gradually became serious. He already understood Tang Zheng's attitude from his actions, but he still did not give up and advised, "Tang Zheng, your family is not rich. Accepting this 1 million will be good for you, so you don't need to force yourself. Being young and full of vigor is a good thing, but you also need to know your limits. Today, I specially invited you here to let you and Shir have one last meal and then go your separate ways." Tang Zheng's expression did not change as he pushed the envelope in front of the other party and said, "You have spent so much effort, but I will have to disappoint you. I have already said that I will not leave Shir, so your efforts are futile." "Tang Zheng, don't be so shameless. You don't know what's good for you. Be careful that we don't give you this 1 million and let you continue to be a pauper." Shi Mengqin finally could not help but slap the table and arrogantly scolded. You should keep it for yourself. You can buy a few more branded bags. If you want to break us up, you really can't do it. Since the other party went straight to the point, Tang Jing did not feign civility and directly stood up to leave. The couple looked at Tang Jing in shock. They did not think that he would be so resolute and not even put 1 million in his eyes. Tang Jing, do you think 1 million is too little? Fang Chonghua asked. I don't have much money, but I don't need your money. Tang Jing walked towards the door without looking back. Fine, Tang Jing, you better remember this. I won't give you this 1 million, but you better not regret it. You are just a small character without any power or influence. I don't believe I can't deal with you. Shi Mengqin stood up and threatened with an ashen face. Tang Jing turned a deaf ear and opened the door, only to find that Fang Shishir had just walked to the door. Fang Shishir looked at him in surprise and said, You're here. Why, are you going out to pick me up? Before he could say anything, Fang Shishir had already pulled him back into the private room. Dad, Mom, have you ordered? I'm a little hungry. Tang Jing originally wanted to leave, but Fang Shishir came. He could not leave and was pulled back to his seat. Okay, I'll immediately order. You sit for a while first. Fang Chonghua calmly said as if nothing had happened. Shi Mengqin's shrewdness was clearly much worse as she coldly snorted and said, I'm going to the restroom. She glared at Tang Jing and left the private room. Tang Jing acted as if he did not see anything as he whispered with Fang Shishir. Fang Shishir inquired about his well-being, asked him how his body was, and also talked about the latest news in school. Her face was brimming with smiles from beginning to end. Fang Chonghua glanced at it and his eyelids jumped as he lightly wrinkled his eyebrows. What is this envelope? Fang Shishir suddenly asked. My medical fees. Tang Jing said, Medical fees? Fang Shishir immediately understood what was going on. Her expression changed as she solemnly said, Tang Jing, take it back. You were injured because of me, so the medical fees should be paid by our family. Without any explanation, she stuffed the envelope into Tang Jing's pocket. Right, little Tang, you should take it back. We don't lack this bit of money. Fang Chonghua also said. Tang Jing once again placed the envelope on the table. I am a person of principle. I am hospitalized myself, so I must pay for it. Tang Jing, is there a need for the two of us to draw such a clear line? Fang Shishir rebuked as she glared at him. These words caused Fang Chonghua's heart to tremble as he felt that this matter was becoming more and more thorny. However, it was also urgent that the two of them be separated. Otherwise, this matter would truly be irreversible. The envelope was stuffed back in. Just at this moment, there was a ping sound as the private room's door was suddenly pushed open and a scream rang out. Let go of me, you bunch of trash. You must have eaten the guts of a leopard to dare make a move against me. I will definitely let you all die a horrible death. This voice could not be any more familiar as several people turned their heads to look. They saw Shi Mengqin in a sorry state being grabbed by the hair as she stumbled in. Fang Chonghua immediately stood up as he solemnly looked at the few fierce-looking youths. Let go! Fang Chonghua angrily roared. The few youths completely ignored his roar as they fiercely grabbed Shi Mengqin's hair and asked, Are you guys together? Shi Mengqin felt pain as she cried out, It hurts so much. Hurry and let go of me. Who are you people? Hurry and let go of my wife or I will call the police. Fang Chonghua arrogantly said. Call the police? We are so scared. Then call the police. We will stand here and wait for the police to come so we can have a good talk. The youths were clearly not afraid of the police as they carelessly urged him. Fang Chonghua was shocked as from the other side's clothes and tone, he could tell that they were not high-level people and were probably from the underworld. If it was a normal person, Fang Chonghua would have a way to deal with them. However, these underworld people were vicious and merciless and did not act according to common sense. Fang Chonghua had always despised them, but he would always keep a respectful distance and not dare to provoke them. This time, he actually bumped into the muzzle of a gun. For a moment, he was at a loss as to what to do as he did not know how his wife got into a conflict with this group of people. Let go of my mom. Fang Shirshir was stunned for a moment before she also stood up and angrily glared at them. If you have something to say, then say it properly. Is there a need to make a move? Making a move is against the law. Yo, there's also a little beauty here. The few people's attention was immediately attracted by Fang Shirshir. Is this your mom? No matter how I look at her, she doesn't look like her at all. You are much prettier than her. Fang Shirshir was so angry that her face turned red as she said, "Hurry and let her go." Let her go? It's not that easy. She bumped into people, and not only did she not apologize, she was also full of filthy words. If we don't teach her a lesson, then wouldn't we be teaching a beauty like you a bad thing? The young man said with an evil smile. Fang Chonghua walked in front of the other party and retorted, "I think you guys are the ones causing trouble." Right, Chonghua, they are the blind dogs. They bumped into me and even hit me. Shi Mengqin shrieked with disheveled hair. Yo, your ability to invert black and white is really amazing. It was clearly you who bumped into us, and your mouth is full of shit, yet you still dare to say that we hit you. I originally did not like hitting women, but since you said I hit you, then I will fulfill your wish. A resounding slap fiercely landed on Shi Mengqin's face. Shi Mengqin was clearly stunned and even forgot to scream. However, in the next second, her scream was so loud that it seemed as if it could lift the roof. You really dared to hit me. This is overturning the heavens. Chonghua, hurry and teach them a lesson. Teach them a lesson. They actually dared to hit me. Her voice was filled with anger and disbelief. Hey, is this woman stupid? Does she really think that she is the heavenly emperor and can do whatever she wants in this ordinary balance? Why doesn't she take a piss and look at herself? The others all mocked. Fang Chonghua's face was ashen. His wife was hit in front of him, and that slap was like a slap to his face. It was burning hot, and he was completely enraged. Relying on his tall stature, he punched out and loudly roared, "Let go!" Okay, since you want to make a move, then we brothers will accompany you to play. The young man released Shi Mengqin and walked up to Fang Chonghua. Although Fang Chonghua was taller than the other, he lived like a prince, so how could he be the other's opponent? After being punched in the stomach, he hugged his stomach and squatted down, his face becoming the color of pig liver. Nice to look at but useless. So he was just an idiot. The others all began to laugh. Shi Mengqin hid to the side, shivering. Don't look at how high and mighty she was normally. Seeing this scene, she immediately realized that something was wrong. That kind of high and mighty attitude was useful against others, but it was completely useless against these young men who used their fists to speak. Seeing the other party smile at her, she was so scared that she actually retreated a few steps, knocking into the table. Now you know fear? If you had apologized earlier, wouldn't all of this have happened? The few people stepped closer. Shi Mengqin was truly panicking. Suddenly, Fang Shirshir bravely stepped forward and stood in front of her. She fearlessly glared at the few people and said, "You are not allowed to harm my mother. Little beauty, your guts are quite big. You are much stronger than your parents." The young man laughed, "But if you do something wrong, then you must be punished. Just now, she didn't just curse me with 1 or 2 sentences. How can 1 slap be enough? 2 more slaps and then this matter will be considered over. If you want to harm my mother, then I will fight it out with you." Fang Shirshir did not shrink back. "Then I can only ruthlessly destroy the flower. You are not allowed to touch my daughter." Fang Chonghua stood up and staggered in front of the door. At this moment, even though his heart was filled with fear, he still had the instinct to protect his family. "You are not our opponent. Obediently stand to the side." The young man pushed Fang Chonghua aside and extended his hand to grab Fang Shirshir. Tang Zheng had been quietly observing the situation. In truth, he believed the other party's words. With Shi Mengqin's arrogant personality, this conflict was most likely caused by her. Ever since he came into contact with Lin Hu, he gradually realized that the people of the underworld were not completely unreasonable. Thus, he deliberately remained calm and collected to see how the situation would develop. Perhaps he harbored some evil thoughts and wanted to see this couple make a fool of themselves. However, Fang Shirshir's performance was out of his expectations. The usually gentle girl was actually not afraid of such an enemy and even dared to confront them. Seeing the other party attack Fang Shirshir, Tang Zheng knew that he could not continue to quietly observe the situation. Thus, he stood up. Chapter 110. Fang Shirshir was actually afraid, but there were some things that had to be done even if one was afraid, such as protecting one's family. Seeing the other's large hand grab at her, she subconsciously wanted to scream but discovered that a hand had reached out from behind her. Her heart trembled. That's right, she had Tang Jing to protect her, so what was there to be afraid of? Immediately, her heart calmed down, like a person in the middle of a storm who had grabbed onto a life-saving straw. There was no fear, but instead a faint expectation. The young man originally thought that he would be able to catch her, but discovered that his hand was grabbed by another hand. That hand was like a pair of iron pincers, making him unable to move. He looked up and discovered a young face. This face was somewhat familiar, but he did not know where he had seen it before. Who are you? Those who mingled in the underworld also had a bit of eyesight. From Tang Zheng's iron pincer-like hand, they could determine that the other party was not like Fang Chonghua, who was only good for looking but useless. If you want to talk, then talk. Why are you making a move? Tang Zheng reprimanded. Who do you think you are? The other party's face flushed red as he angrily said. Tang Zheng coldly smiled as his hand exerted force, causing the other party to cry out miserably as the veins on his forehead popped out. Upon seeing this, the other youths became restless as they loudly roared, "Let him go!" Greater than equal to Tang Zheng swept his eyes over the other party, but no one dared to make a move. Fang Chonghua looked at Tang Zheng in shock as he never thought that he would have such a move. It seems like his previous investigation was not thorough enough as he actually knew martial arts. Shi Mingqin's eyes lit up as her spirit was instantly restored. She arrogantly shouted, "Tang Zheng, teach them a lesson for me and let them know my strength." Tang Zheng did not move, but he felt Fang Shirshir tug on his clothes from behind. He turned his head and smiled at her. "Relax, no one can hurt you." Fang Shirshir sweetly smiled as she happily nodded her head, feeling especially safe. Women needed a sense of security, and Tang Zheng was undoubtedly someone who could give others a sense of security, especially at this critical moment. Shi Mingqin, seeing that she was ignored, flew into a rage. "Tang Zheng, did you hear what I said? Teach this group of trash a lesson for me." Tang Zheng looked at her indifferently and let go of her hand. That person took a few deep breaths and hurriedly took a few steps back and asked in horror, "Who are you? Who are you people?" Tang Zheng asked. One of the young men stared fixedly at Tang Zheng. Suddenly, a look of disbelief appeared in his eyes. He quickly whispered something in the ear of the young man in the lead. The young man's eyes instantly widened as he asked incredulously, "You are young Master Tang?" "Young Master Tang." The others all revealed looks of horror, as if they had met their nemesis, and they couldn't help but take a few steps back. These two words seemed to have boundless magical power, causing people to tremble in fear. Tang Zheng suspiciously looked at the other party as they actually recognized him. Only Lin Hu knew how to address him, so could it be that he was one of Lin Hu's people? Fang Chonghua and Shi Mingqin looked at each other as they were at a loss. Were these people stupid? They actually called this poor bastard young Master Tang. What a joke! What kind of young master was he? Wasn't he just a trash picker? Since you know who I am, then why haven't you apologized to this young miss? Since the other party was one of Lin Hu's people, Tang Zheng did not plan to pursue the matter. That person was in fear and trepidation as he deeply bowed towards Fang Shirshir and bitterly begged, "This young miss, I'm sorry. It was all my fault. You are a great person, so please don't lower yourself to my level. I beg you to let me go." Fang Shirshir was still in a state of shock as she looked at this person who was originally flaunting his power and was actually apologizing to her. She was a little stunned. Fang Chonghua felt even more incredulous as he had been in the business world for half his life and had never seen such a strange thing. Shi Mingqin was also confused, but her face revealed an arrogant and excited expression as she arrogantly ordered, "Ruthlessly teach him a lesson." Fang Shirshir directly looked at Tang Zheng, hoping that he would make a decision. Tang Jing nodded his head and said, "After apologizing, you can leave. There is nothing for you to do here." "Yes, thank you, young Master Tang. We will first take our leave." The other party called out to his companions and hurriedly retreated, carefully closing the door behind him. The atmosphere in the private room relaxed as Shi Mengqin stared at Tang Jing with dissatisfaction and said, "Why didn't you ruthlessly teach him a lesson? How could it be that simple after apologizing?" Tang Jing inwardly shook his head as Shi Mengqin, this kind of unreasonable mother, was able to raise a well-educated daughter like Fang Shishir. It was a miracle that Fang Shishir did not have that kind of bad temper. "If you want to teach them a lesson, then go yourself." Tang Jing crossed his arms as he looked at Shi Mengqin with ridicule. "What kind of tone is that? Daring to speak to me like that? You must be overturning the heavens." Shi Mengqin clamored as she was afraid of those people but was not afraid of Tang Jing. Fortunately, Fang Chongguo was smart and stopped his wife as he nervously said, "Little Tang, let's quickly leave this place. They just mistook you for someone else, and when they find out the truth, they will definitely come back. At that time, we will be in trouble." It was clear that Fang Chongguo did not believe that Tang Jing was the young Master Tang and thought that they had mistaken him for someone else. Tang Jing smiled but did not refute. Fang Shishir was clearly dissatisfied as her boyfriend had solved this problem, but her parents did not believe in his ability, so she pulled Tang Jing to sit down and said, "I am not afraid. With Tang Jing here, no one can harm us." "Shishir, this is not the time to mess around. Those people do not look like good people, so we should quickly leave this place." Fang Chongguo became serious as he was clearly scared by this group of people. Fang Shishir pouted and said, "It was clearly a family eating happily, but it ended up like this. How boring." "Shishir, if you want to eat then order. It's okay." Tang Jing passed the menu to her without a trace of fear, causing Fang Chongguo to frown and said, "Tang Jing, this is not the time to be brave. If you want to eat then go to another restaurant." Shi Mengqin agreed. Sure, let's go. If he wants to eat then let him eat alone. If he wants to die then don't drag us down with him." After saying this, she pulled Fang Shishir and was about to leave. "Mom, what are you doing?" Fang Shishir unhappily broke free from her mother's hand. Fang Chongguo solemnly said, "Shishir, listen to your mom. Let's go." He glanced at Tang Jing and inwardly shook his head. Being young and impetuous was not a good thing, and this kind of person usually did not have a good ending. Immediately, he became even more determined to separate his daughter and Tang Jing. The door opened, causing several people to jump in fright as they all looked towards the door. A group of people blocked the door, causing Fang Chongguo and Shi Mengqin's faces to turn pale as they hastily retreated. "See, I told you to quickly leave. Now that people have come knocking on our door, we can't leave even if we want to." Shi Mengqin roared in panic as she looked at Tang Jing with incomparable disgust. Fang Chongguo's face was also ugly. Fang Shishir looked at Tang Jing with concern, only to see him calmly sitting on the fishing platform without any reaction. A person who looked like a leader swaggered in, and Shi Mengqin pointed at Tang Jing and shouted, "It's him. All of this was caused by him. He was the one who pretended to be someone else and has nothing to do with us." "Mom, how can you be like this?" Fang Shishir said with a belly full of anger. Fang Chongguo did not stop her as his heart was apprehensive. From the leader's aura, he could see that he was not an ordinary person. This was especially true for the fierce aura around him, which caused his heart to tremble in fear. Tang Jing stood up without the slightest trace of fear on his face as he walked towards the other party. The others looked at him in shock while Fang Shishir pulled on him with concern written all over her face. Tang Jing patted her hand to make her feel at ease before walking towards the newcomer. A clear and bright laugh suddenly sounded. "Young Master Tang, it really is you. I heard from my little brother that they had mistaken you for someone else." The newcomer was an old acquaintance, Lin Hu. When he heard his little brother say that he had provoked Tang Jing, he jumped in fright and hurried over. Tang Jing nodded his head and said, "It was just a small misunderstanding." Lin Hu's heart relaxed. Since Tang Jing said that it was a small misunderstanding, then this matter was not that serious. Of course, he could not appear relaxed as he turned his head to look at his little brother and fiercely said, "Scram out here." The young man from before stood up in fear and with a putong sound, knelt down in front of Tang Jing. He laid his head on the ground and trembled. The others all looked at Tang Jing with the same expression. All in all, it was fear. Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin were dumbstruck. If they thought that the other party had mistaken him for someone else, but now that the boss had arrived, how could the boss have mistaken him for someone else? The answer was obviously no. But this did not make sense. The poor bastard in their eyes was actually revered by this group of people. They felt that their worldview was about to collapse. Shi Mengqin licked her lips and looked at her husband. She did not know what to say. Fang Chonghua's mouth was dry and his throat moved. In the end, he did not say anything. On the contrary, Fang Shishi's face was filled with excitement as her large eyes glowed. Tang Zhang's image in her heart instantly became even greater. This is Boss Fan's head, Saber's eye. He is currently working for me. This time, I specially invited all my little brothers to eat together to consolidate their hearts. I never thought that he would actually provoke you. Lin Hu said with a complicated feeling. After he took over Boss Fan's territory, the majority of Boss Fan's little brothers had pledged allegiance to him. This time, he specially invited his little brothers to eat together in order to win their hearts and make them sincerely pledge allegiance to him. He never thought that Saber's eye would actually provoke Tang Jing, causing him to not know what to do. Saber's eye and the others had all participated in the forest battle. However, Tang Jing came quickly and left quickly. Although he left a deep impression on others, not many people remembered his appearance. There was a clever person who remembered him, which was why he spoke out to remind Saber's eye. Young Master Tang. This name was too resounding among this group of people. That battle was won by Tang Jing and Boss Fan was even crippled by Tang Jing. How could they provoke such a fierce person? Moreover, the new boss and Tang Jing's relationship was not shallow. To provoke the boss's friend right after pledging allegiance to the new boss was simply seeking death. Young Master Tang, I beg you to let me go. I will never dare to do this again. In the future, I will be your cow or horse to repay you. Saber's eye's heart was like dead ashes as he begged in fear. Chapter 111. Dao Zai was actually a person who dared to fight and was definitely not a coward, but he was currently a rootless duckweed. If he could not establish himself under the new boss, then his future days would be very difficult. The underworld was Jianghu. The people of Jianghu seemed to have a rich and colorful life, but in reality, how much bitterness was hidden was difficult for outsiders to know. Where there were people, there would be grudges. The grudges of Jianghu were even more endless and the grudges were even more intense. Therefore, if a Jianghu person wanted to leave Jianghu, it would be very difficult unless they reached Huang Biao's level and did not fear the revenge of others. Otherwise, even if it was Lin Hu, he would not dare to leave Jianghu. Leaving meant that he would lose his power and his enemies would come knocking on his door. Without the care of his fellow soldiers, it was possible that one day he would end up as a corpse on the streets. Dao Zai understood this point, which was why his heart was like dead ashes. Lin Hu looked at Tang Jing but did not say anything. If Tang Jing really punished Dao Zai, then he would have nothing to say. In his heart, Tang Jing's position surpassed anyone else. Everyone's eyes all focused on Tang Jing's body as he was the focus of the crowd. The private room was completely silent as even Shi Mengqin stopped her clamoring, leaving only the sound of slightly hurried breathing. Tang Jing and Lin Hu looked at each other. He naturally understood Dao Zai's meaning to Lin Hu. Moreover, Dao Zai did not make too big of a mistake, so he bent down and supported Dao Zai's arm. Dao Zai's entire body trembled, showing the great fear in his heart. Stand up. You are Huzi's brother, so of course you are my brother. Brothers of the same family, this is also called no discord, no concord. Tang Jing calmly said. In Dao Zai's ears, this voice was like the sound of nature. No voice in the world was more pleasant than this voice. He was especially excited as he timidly looked at Tang Jing. Discovering that the other was not lying, he hurriedly said, Young Master Tang is magnanimous. In the future, Dao Zai will do anything for you without hesitation. That sonorous and powerful tone was not the least bit fake. Tang Jing smiled and patted his shoulder, saying, "Properly follow Huzi and your days will only get better and better." "Yes, young Master Tang." Dao Zi nodded respectfully. Lin Hu smiled. After such a ruckus, he unexpectedly did not make Dao Zi and the others bitterly disappointed. Instead, he was able to rope them in. He felt that Tang Zheng was simply his lucky star, so he laughed heartily and said, "Young Master Tang's breadth of mind is truly admirable. Everyone else, leave, don't disturb young Master Tang's mood of eating." The younger brothers filed out and closed the door. Lin Hu pulled Tang Zheng and said, "Are these young Master Tang's friends?" "Let me introduce myself first. My name is Lin Hu. I'm a rough man and I'm trying to make a living in ordinary balance." Fang Chonghua quickly changed his expression and shook hands with Lin Hu, saying, "This humble one is Fang Chonghua. Director Fang, nice to meet you." Lin Hu said warmly. Shi Mengqin wanted to say something but hesitated. Fang Chonghua's eyes were sharp and his hands were quick as he hurriedly stopped his wife, afraid that she would say something that would offend the other party. Fang Chonghua had never heard of Lin Hu's name, but it was clear that the other party was not an ordinary person. It was best not to provoke him. What he was most puzzled about was the relationship between Tang Zheng and Lin Hu. It seemed that Lin Hu was very respectful towards him. But this did not make sense. Could it be that Tang Zheng was the son of some big-shot family and deliberately maintained a low profile? But what kind of big-shot family would pick up trash and live in a broken house? He had a stomach full of questions and was prepared to go home and properly ask his daughter about Tang Zheng's background. Fang Shishir was very happy as Tang Zheng had resolved this crisis, making her feel that she had face in front of her parents. In the future, there would be less resistance, so she pulled Tang Zheng and happily ordered the dishes. Fang Chonghua and Shi Mengqin became supporting characters and did not say a word. Lin Hu would occasionally whisper a few words to Tang Zheng before raising his head to look at the Fang couple. His expression clearly changed. The two were shocked as they did not know what Tang Zheng said. They were deeply afraid that he would say bad things about them, but they did not dare to directly ask. Don't look at how Lin Hu was respectful in front of Tang Zheng and did not put on any airs. That was because Tang Zheng was strong enough to make Lin Hu accept him wholeheartedly. In front of others, Lin Hu's aura was not weak. After all, he had been in Jianghu for tens of years and his domineering aura could not be concealed. Every time Lin Hu glanced at them, the two's hearts would suddenly jump. However, Lin Hu's attitude towards Fang Shishir was clearly much better as he was not stingy with his praises, causing her to beam with joy. In reality, Tang Zheng did not say bad things about the Fang couple and was only speaking the truth. Moreover, Lin Hu was not an idiot. He could see that the two were clearly dissatisfied with Tang Zheng and could not help but snort disdainfully. He had seen many of these so-called successful people who thought that they could fly to the sky with just a little bit of money. In his eyes, they were not worth mentioning. As they spoke, a table full of dishes was served. Lin Hu poured a cup of wine and said, "Young Master Tang, let me toast you. I'll drink it, you can drink as much as you want." The culture of the wine table was broad and profound. Just this simple sentence contained too many profound meanings. Fang Chonghua naturally understood the profound meaning behind it, and that was that Lin Hu had lowered his status to a very low level. Tang Zheng also drank it in one gulp. Lin Hu gave him face so he naturally would return it. "Director Fang, let's drink." Lin Hu also said. His attitude towards Fang Chonghua was clearly much more casual. Shi Mengqin was about to flare up but was stopped by her husband. "Mr. Lin, let me toast you." Fang Chonghua smiled and drank first. Lin Hu also raised his head and drank, saying, "Young Master Tang, I still have guests to take care of so I'll go first. You guys take your time eating." Tang Jing nodded his head. Dong dong. Just at this moment, a knock sounded out and the door was pushed open. A woman walked in. This woman was around 30 years old and had a strong aura. She was dressed in martial attire and exuded a heroic spirit. Although she could not be considered beautiful, She was very pleasing to the eye. "Brother Hu, you ran over here and left me to drink alone. That's not good enough." She leisurely walked over and said in a coquettish yet angry tone. Lin Hu stood up and laughed. "Fire Phoenix, look, aren't I just about to go over?" Tang Jing thoughtfully looked at the person who came in. So she was actually Fire Phoenix. It seems like Lin Hu has already begun to carry out his plan to rope her in. Fire Phoenix's almond eyes swept over the several people. Her gaze paused on Fang Shishir's face as she said in her heart, "What a beautiful girl." However, she directly ignored Tang Jing. This was because Tang Jing was indeed very ordinary. He did not have the tyrannical aura of a tiger and was just like an ordinary high school student. Moreover, there was a bit of shyness between his eyebrows, giving off the feeling of a neighbor's big boy. "Brother Hu, why don't you introduce your friend to me? Are you afraid that I will steal your business?" Fire Phoenix said with a smile. "Fire Phoenix, my small business is not worthy of your attention." Lin Hu paused for a moment and solemnly introduced, "This is young Master Tang." Fire Phoenix's gaze finally fell on Tang Zheng's body. Her eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment, but she immediately smiled like a flower and said, "Young Master Tang, nice to meet you." From Lin Hu's tone, she could hear the respect he had for Tang Zheng. Moreover, he was the first to introduce Tang Zheng. This meant that the other party's identity was not ordinary. To be worthy of the title of young Master Tang, he was definitely not an ordinary person. Her mind quickly flashed past ordinary balance and other large families. However, none of them had the surname Tang. This made her unable to see through Tang Zheng's background. "Fire Phoenix, your reputation is not as good as meeting you in person. Nice to meet you." Tang Zheng nodded. Fire Phoenix smiled. "Oh, young Master Tang, you have actually heard of my name. It is my honor." Her gaze turned and looked at the other people. "What about these people?" Lin Hu had not yet introduced when Fang Chonghua took the initiative to stand up and excitedly said, "Chief Fire, I am Ding Tai Real Estate's Fang Chonghua. I am currently discussing with your company about cooperation." Fang Chonghua was really excited. He had never met Fire Phoenix before, but her name was like thunder to his ears. This was because her name in the real estate industry was too resounding. She had a construction company under her. The company was not large, but its strength was strong, especially in the area of demolition. Many of the difficult areas in ordinary balance were taken care of by her. Nowadays, there were two most difficult areas in the real estate industry. One of them was the land, and the other was the demolition. Many places in the country were boiling with resentment because of the demolition. Group incidents occurred frequently and many officials were implicated because of this. And Fire Phoenix's demolition company was one of the oddities in ordinary balance. They could quickly take care of those nail-biters. Moreover, they would not let them complain or ask for help. Many of the ordinary balance's real estate companies would ask her for help. Thus, her position was very special. Fang Chonghua was jealous of the real estate boom. He had also set up a real estate company and painstakingly took over the land. But now, he was stuck in the demolition process, causing his work to stop. Seeing the money flowing out, his heart ached. He was so anxious that he was on fire. He tried to find Fire Phoenix through his connections, but to no avail. This was because Fire Phoenix was very busy. Or it could be said that she had a lot of big clients. Thus, she did not want to see a small client like him. He never thought that he would actually meet Fire Phoenix. And this was all thanks to Tang Zheng. This made him have mixed feelings, but he was more happy because his problem could be solved. Fire Phoenix nodded and said, "Oh, so it's Chief Fang. Nice to meet you. If you had said earlier that you were Brother Hu's friend, then we would have cooperated a long time ago." Fire Phoenix's heart moved as she judged the other party's intention to find her. Naturally, since he was Lin Hu's friend, her attitude was a lot better. Fang Chonghua looked at Lin Hu with a complicated expression. He really could not guess what kind of person he was to have such a good relationship with Fire Phoenix. Fang Chonghua personally poured a cup of wine and said, "Chief Fire, I am fortunate to meet you today. Let me give you a toast." As for the matter of cooperation, I will go to your company tomorrow to discuss it with you. He held the wine cup and wanted to pass it to Fire Phoenix. Fire Phoenix did not accept it but looked at Lin Hu thoughtfully. From Lin Hu's attitude, she could see a lot of peculiarities. Lin Hu's attitude towards Fang Chonghua was cold, but he attached great importance to this young Master Tang. Fire Phoenix was a smart person, so how could she not understand the importance of this table? Thus, she smiled at Tang Zheng and said, "Young Master Tang, I wonder if I have the honor to drink with you?" What was called disparity? This was called disparity. Fang Chonghua took the initiative to propose a toast, but Fire Phoenix ignored him. However, she took the initiative to drink with Tang Zheng and even said that it was her honor. The difference was like heaven and earth. Chapter 112. Fang Chonghua embarrassedly put down his wine cup and awkwardly looked at the crowd as he never thought that his face would be swept away like this. Shi Mengqin finally could not bear it any longer as she fiercely slapped the table and said, "Tang Zheng, what is the meaning of this?" Lin Hu's eyebrows immediately wrinkled as he coldly stared at Shi Mengqin. If not for Tang Zheng's gaze stopping him, he would have already flipped out. Fire Phoenix glanced at Fang Shishir as if deep in thought. Her eyebrows blossomed into a smile as she said, "Then you guys eat first, I'll be leaving first." She then nodded towards Tang Zheng and walked out. "Huzi, you go accompany Fire Phoenix." Tang Zheng calmly said. Lin Hu stared at Shi Mengqin and said, "Young Master Tang, then I'll be leaving first. Call me if you have any orders." The two left and the atmosphere in the private room became stifling. Shi Mengqin arrogantly looked at Tang Zheng and said, "Are you relying on your gang of scoundrels to intimidate others?" Tang Zheng's expression did not change as he lightly said, "I didn't do anything, why would you say such a thing? Look at those people's attitudes. Young Master Tang, they aren't even ashamed." Shi Mengqin really lost face today, and seeing Tang Zheng admit defeat, her imposing manner became even stronger. "Mom, you are making trouble without reason. Tang Zheng helped us resolve the problem, yet you still criticize him. You are too unreasonable." Fang Shishir was so angry that her face turned red. "Shishir, I have raised you for so many years, yet now you are siding with an outsider. I am just stating the facts and speaking reason. I see that you don't have me as your mother in your eyes. What is so good about this little brat that he is worthy of you protecting him so wholeheartedly? He is good and I like him." Fang Shishir raised her head and said resolutely. Shi Mengqin was so angry that her entire body trembled. "Enough!" Fang Chonghua slammed his hand on the table, causing the plates to jump up. His face was ashen as he angrily said, "Making such a ruckus, where are your manners?" Shi Mengqin was also shocked as she rarely saw him so angry. She hurriedly comforted him, "Chonghua, calm down. Don't lower yourself to this little brat's level." Fang Chonghua glared at her and said, "You're the one who made me angry. What was wrong with you just now? Why are you yelling at Tang Zheng?" Shi Mengqin was stupefied as she looked at her husband at a loss. She did not understand why her husband would say such a thing as she was clearly protecting his face. Shi Mengqin was just a full-time housewife who wholeheartedly wanted to transform herself into a noble lady. She didn't care about Fang Chonghua's career at all, so of course, she wasn't aware of the crisis he was currently facing. Although Fang Chonghua's attitude towards Fire Phoenix made her a little surprised, but she was already filled with anger, and seeing her husband being humiliated, she couldn't help but explode. "Chonghua, I'm helping you." "Help me?" I think you're the one who's harming me." Fang Chonghua unhappily said, unable to accomplish anything, but good at spoiling things. He originally thought that with his relationship with Tang Zheng, he would be able to form a relationship with Fire Phoenix, but this was completely destroyed by Shi Mengqin. Fang Chonghua looked at Tang Zheng, not knowing what to say. He had just treated Tang Zheng, so how could he speak up for him? "Go home, don't make a fool of yourself outside." Shi Mengqin looked at her husband in alarm and then looked at Tang Zheng, her eyes flashing with hatred. Tang Jing acted as if he didn't see it. Seeing Fang Shishi's dejected expression, he advised, Shishi, go home and rest first. Tomorrow is the monthly exam, so do your best. Fang Shishi hesitantly nodded her head. The few of them went to the counter and prepared to pay the bill, but they were told that the bill had already been paid by a Mr. Lin. Fang Cheng's expression was complicated as he looked at Tang Jing, and the family disappeared into the night. Tang Jing shook his head, as tonight's series of unforeseen events were out of his expectations. He didn't know what the other party would think of him, but this wasn't his main concern. In any case, he didn't have a good impression of them. Young Master Tang. Someone called out from behind him. Huazi, is something the matter? Brother who invites you over. Huazi respectfully invited. Tang Jing nodded his head, indicating for him to lead the way. The two of them arrived at a private room, where Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix were sitting. Young Master Tang, I'm sorry for disturbing your meal. Fire Phoenix said apologetically. Tang Jing sat down, shook his head and said, this has nothing to do with you. They have long been dissatisfied with me. Young Master Tang is such an outstanding youth. If they aren't satisfied, then they really don't have good eyesight. Fire Phoenix stared at Tang Jing. Just now she had already asked Lin Hu about Tang Jing's identity, but Lin Hu kept it a secret, which made her even more curious. You flatter me. I'm just a high school student, not some outstanding youth. Tang Jing spoke the truth. He never bragged about his identity. High school student? Fire Phoenix's eyes widened in astonishment. She coquettishly glared at Lin Hu and said, Brother who didn't reveal your situation at all. You really want to hide an outstanding youth like young Master Tang from me? You're too mean. Lin Hu hurriedly explained, Fire Phoenix, you can't blame me for this. Young Master Tang's matters are best left to him. I don't dare to speak carelessly. Oh, then I'm all ears. Young Master Tang, you don't mind talking about your great achievements to broaden my horizons. Fire Phoenix's aura was very strong, but this series of words made her seem approachable. There was a strong sense of intimacy. I don't have any great achievements. If you really want to talk about something that surpasses others, then it's my academic results that are a bit special. Tang Jing said with a smile. Academic results? Fire Phoenix snorted and laughed even more happily. This is the first time I've heard someone praise themselves like this. Then young Master Tang must be very powerful? Tang Jing shook his head and said with a deadpan expression, right now I'm the last in the school. Last. Fire Phoenix's laughter came to an abrupt stop. She was dumbstruck. Young Master Tang is really humorous. Interesting. But I'm very curious about young Master Tang and Brother Hu's relationship. Fire Phoenix had been invited to participate in Lin Hu's dinner party. It could be considered as her understanding of his strength. After all, this time Lin Hu's victory was too unimaginable. She had no choice but to pay attention to it. This time she discovered that Tang Jing and Lin Hu's relationship was not shallow. Her intuition told her that Tang Jing was related to Lin Hu's rise. She could not explain the reason, but it was a feeling that she had cultivated for many years. Brother Hu and I are good brothers. Tang Jing said. Oh, I've never heard of you before. I wonder which family young Master Tang is from. I'll pay a visit some other day. Tang Jing shook his head. That won't be necessary. My house is just a rundown house. It can't accommodate a great god like you. Young Master Tang really likes to joke. The more Fire Phoenix listened, the more confused she became. She thought that the other party was unwilling to say, so she did not continue to ask. She changed the topic and said, just now I wanted to drink with young Master Tang but was not able to. Now I want to drink to my heart's content. Tang Jing did not refuse. Lin Hu had already filled 3 cups of wine and said, come, the 3 of yous will drink a cup first. The 3 people drank in one gulp. Fire Phoenix immediately launched an attack. She continuously drank with Tang Jing. Not long after, the bottle of wine was emptied. Lin Hu saw this and quickly advised, Fire Phoenix, who doesn't know that you won't get drunk even after 1,000 cups? Are you trying to get young Master Tang drunk? I see that young Master Tang's alcohol tolerance is not bad. When drinking with a close friend, 1,000 cups is not enough. It's been a long time since I drank to my heart's content. Today we must not leave until we are drunk. Young Master Tang, what do you say? Fire Phoenix's alcohol tolerance was very good. She wanted to get Tang Jing drunk and then get some information from him. Fire Phoenix, I'll drink with you. Lin Hu pulled up his sleeves and boldly said, Brother Hu, I have drunk with you many times before. This time I don't want to drink with you. This time I want to drink with a handsome guy like young Master Tang. You go to the side. Lin Hu looked at Tang Jing inquiringly. It was clear that he was asking about his alcohol tolerance. Tang Jing rarely drank, but he could use his qi to dissolve the alcohol, so he was not afraid. Moreover, Fire Phoenix gave him a very good impression. In order to cooperate with her to deal with Hoodlum, he had to drink this wine. Good, then I will risk my life to accompany you. We will not leave until we are drunk. Tang Jing boldly said. The two people drank cup after cup of wine. Tang Jing's expression did not change, but Fire Phoenix's face gradually changed. It was bright red like a ripe apple. Lin Hu looked at the two people drinking with interest. He gradually saw the knack of it. Tang Jing's drinking was like drinking water. Moreover, the more he drank, the brighter his eyes became. This was very frightening. Lin Hu had never seen a person who could drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk, but Tang Jing clearly had this tendency. Fire Phoenix held the cup of wine and could not drink anymore. Her stomach was overturning and many things wanted to rush out. She knew that she had reached her limit. She had not drunk like this for many years, but seeing Tang Jing as if nothing had happened, she was both shocked and frightened. There was no one who could drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk. After drinking a few jeans of wine, the effect of the alcohol had far exceeded the limit of what the human body could bear. But Tang Jing was completely unaffected. This showed that he was using his internal energy to dissolve the alcohol. This was not a secret for martial artists. Fire Phoenix was also doing this, but after all, there was a time when one's internal energy was exhausted. So after drinking so much, her internal energy was no longer of any use. She was almost drunk. From this point, it showed that Tang Jing's internal energy was much higher than hers. Fire Phoenix suddenly realized why Lin Hu was so respectful to him. Just who was the one who taught this youth to have such profound internal energy in his teens? Fire Phoenix was a 3rd-grade refining body. This showed that Tang Jing was at least a 4th-grade refining body. This was even more powerful than Huang Xiang in the past. Fire Phoenix did not dare to continue thinking because her thoughts were gradually becoming chaotic. She could not drink anymore, or else she would be making a fool of herself. Young Master Tang is good. I, Fire Phoenix, humbly admit defeat. Fire Phoenix gave a thumbs up and praised. Tang Jing smiled and put down the cup. He had his internal energy to dissolve the alcohol, which was much more powerful than a martial artist's internal energy. He really could drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk. It was just that his stomach was a little uncomfortable. After eating and drinking, Brother Hu, now we can talk about the purpose of your invitation. Fire Phoenix let out a long breath and used her internal energy to suppress the effects of the alcohol. She maintained the last trace of clarity in her mind and lightly said, You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.